Little check. How you doing?
Hey everyone, what's up? How you doing?
Good.
Good, good, good. Here the people started showing up. Here we go.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Are you on Zoom?
Yeah, we're on Zoom. All right, people, we're going to give people a good 5 minutes.
I did. I have to write that down.
Just press the button.
Okay.
It says,
Zoom meeting.
yeah.
I have to write all this. I have to write the password down and everything.
Did everyone invite their friends and family?
I'm only staying for a minute. Join without video.
You can do without video.
Turn with the video.
Hey, Chip.
Hey, Cisco, what's up?
Oh.
How
Press
you doing?
Good, good. How you doing, sis?
Hey, Chip. Are you the moderator?
Yeah, hey, Mom, that woman Francisca, you see, that's the one that my mother has your picture hanging up in my house. Me dancing in the park.
Yes, I'm only here for a minute. Okay.
My mother's in the same room, so
I got you.
she got. Did you mute it, Mom?
Nice to meet you.
No. You just have to mute it.
Hey, Chip.
What is up?
Start video. How do you do this? It allows Zoom to access your camera from this device menu setting. Can you hear me, Chip?
Yes, we can. We're gonna give another 5 minutes.
How you doing?
Very good. What's up, Ralph?
I'm just trying to figure out how to get my phone to turn on. You can't see me, right? Settings.
Chip, can you hear me? Chip?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
We encourage people to keep getting tested, whether it's today or tomorrow or in the future.
What's going on, Chip?
What's going on, Sean?
List of those sites on our website, cbsboston.com.
All news tonight here at 6 o'clock, frustration over fireworks. If you're not hearing them in your neighborhood at night, consider yourself lucky. Today, we went across the border into New Hampshire, where, of course, they're legal.
You have to mute who has the TV on. I think that's FJ.
Yeah, that's me. I'm sorry about that. I'm not,
You can sit with him. You can do it on your phone.
Okay. All right. I turned down.
Why is he on? Where is he?
He's in the front room.
Oh. So we can't be in the same room though, because it makes too much noise. Okay. Oh my God. I have things to do.
So everyone, is fireworks really happening badly in your neighborhoods or no?
Yes, it's ridiculous.
Who's that speaking?
This is Jules. What's up, everybody?
Hey, let's talk about that for a good 5 minutes before we get everyone else on. Fireworks.
University Avenue, they're having a big gathering here in Atlanta.
For what?
For the brother that passed away, that they killed a couple last weekend.
Oh, okay.
At Wendy's. So they're doing another protest. Actually, it's right now.
Wow.
Are you still in Boston or are you here?
I'm in Boston.
How was the rally in Grove Hall last week?
It was good. We had like 90 people show up. It was really excellent.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, really good. We're gonna do another one this week. Julian's in charge, right, Julian?
Chick, thanks for all the pressure.
Julian's in charge, right, Julian?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, there you go. Sometimes you look around like no one's in charge. You're like, oh, guess looks like I'm in charge.
Right.
All right, 3 more minutes and we'll get started. I bet people will join in a little later. Just leave your emails.
Do you know if your student got that? I sent your student Joel some information. Do you know if he
He'll be on
never
here. He's supposed to be on this call.
Oh, okay. Whoops. Did something wrong.
So the first thing we got to do, if you can put your email inside of the chat, so we just have a documentation of who was here, so I can send out the video and all that other stuff.
Guess I got to figure that out on the phone. It looks totally different on the phone view.
Nia just jumped on. Got my cousin Andrea here. Hey, my niece Nia just jumped on. Hello.
Hello.
Andrea looking fabulous. Look at your hair. Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan.
Thanks.
That Nia?
There's Nia.
Well, how many? 7 attractions. I didn't even know that.
No. Hi, Nia.
Oh, there it goes. Hi. Sorry, I couldn't hear y'all.
Oh, thank you. All right. FJ's in there.
FJ's in the house.
She's my mother is playing with her phone trying to figure out how to do this.
Okay.
Jesus. I dropped my phone. Oh.
What's nice thing there? Oh, there you go.
Hey, I'm driving over there, but I want to phone in. Put myself on mute real quick.
Okay. All right, we're at almost 20.
I gotta do it on
You can see here from there. But you got to do you can see everybody when they talk. So what we should do is just go around and just say who's on the phone. I will start with Julian. Just say who you are, what part of town you're in, and that's it. Or where you're calling from.
My name is Julian Kaiser, phoning from Boston, Mass. Rising sophomore at the University of Miami.
All right, excellent, excellent. Next, I'll go there. Just anyone jump in and say who you are.
I'm Francis Haywood, senior citizen. What you laughing at?
Yeah.
You don't like senior citizens?
No, he was a former Batman over there. All right, Iron Man. What's up, Aunt? Next, go for it. Everyone jump in.
I'm Nia Grenard, and I'm calling in from Boston. I'm a rising junior at Springfield College.
Okay. Thank you. And you're famous because of who?
Huh?
Because my favorite uncle's on the phone.
Oh, my favorite uncle invited me to talk.
Thank you. Why am I your favorite uncle?
Because you're my only uncle.
There we go. That's all we got to know. All right, next, who else?
This
Hello,
is Ralph
everyone.
calling from Atlanta.
Okay, that's great. Next.
Hi, family. My name is Sylvia Black. I'm from New York. I'm a student at Harvard and interested to hear everybody.
What's up, sister from Harvard? What up?
I'm Gary from Atlanta.
What's up, Gary?
Hey, Chip.
Keep on going.
How are you, sir?
Very well, man. Very well.
Hi, I'm Andrea Greenwich from Boston.
What's up, Stick? What's up, family? Keep on going.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jerome Miller, calling from Savannah, Georgia.
What's up? Keep on going.
I'm Francesca. I'm living in Atlanta, Georgia.
What's up, Sister Francesca? Next.
What up? I'm Keenan McCollins. I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, Keenan.
Keenan.
I'm sorry, I always mess it up.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Joel. I'm a rising senior in Georgia State University. What the hell? Sorry. And I'm in Atlanta as well.
Excellent. Next. Good. We'll just keep on going and then we'll get people in. Please put your email inside of the chat so we have documentation that you were here and we'll be able to send you a copy of the video and so forth. Today we've been meeting over the last couple of weeks on Zoom, just bringing lots of different people together just to talk about what's going on in society. And a lot of times we've had a very stronger intergenerational discussions about bringing younger people with older people. And we have our senior citizen member here today, Francis Haywood. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
So be ready to give us some knowledge when you get a second. All right. And so forth. But we wanted the young people just to get a good talk about what's going on, what they're seeing in society, and what's going on, and getting their own view. We're viewing the discussion today is about education, entrepreneurship, and employment. And we just opened a discussion today with our young people. We have a couple of featured people just sharing their thoughts, but it's also open for everybody else to jump in as well. This is more of a conversation than more of a just like a panel or something like that. So I would like to open it up with my most senior person, Joel and Jerome, to share what they think is going on in education and employment and entrepreneurship going on with in their own eyes, but also a piece about Black Lives Matter and what does that actually mean to them. Joel and Jerome, anyone want to go first?
Jerome, could you go first? I'm almost at my house, so I'm gonna.
All right. Hello again, everyone. My name is Jerome Miller. I'm still in the process of finishing my last 2 courses as an undergraduate at Georgia State. But Chip, what do you mean by education? Like, can you explain?
Education K through 16. What do you think is needed for education through high school and college? What do you think the tools are? What's on entrepreneurship or and employment opportunities?
You saying what is needed more education on entrepreneurship opportunities?
Yeah, your thoughts.
That's a hard question. I would say probably a little bit of both, to be honest. I don't think you need one more than the other. And the goal with why I say both is because you need education to understand certain entrepreneur ventures that you're getting yourself into, and that you could be cognizant of different like approaches that you could use within the entrepreneurship venture. And you need entrepreneurship because nowadays a business and a corporation is not for the benefit of an individual, specifically a Black male anyway in America. So also you can always fall back and work for yourself, which creates generational wealth more than any other avenue of work in America. So I would say a little bit of both in today's society is definitely needed.
Why don't we start off with the first question? I think will be able to lead everybody else better. Is why you think your generation is out there marching and protesting? Why do you think there's a large amount of and that's open for Julian, Nia, Joel, Jerome, Julian.
I think
Miss
the
George.
main reason why majority of my age group is out there marching, millennials in general, is because we are tired of what's been occurring for the past 400 years. It's time to put a cease to police brutality, systematic racism, racism that occurs in when it comes to criminal justice, you know, and with law enforcement and stuff of that nature, wealth inequality. You know, we have a large voice, and we see that we have a large voice, and we can use technology nowadays to our advantage, which, you know, back in the early 90s and 80s and the 70s, they didn't really have that avenue. So I feel like that's just more of a reason why, because I think it's time to put a cease to that, what's been occurring for the past 100 years.
Just to piggyback, I really think that a lot of us are just, you
gotta talk louder in the camera.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are like really just waking up, and we're just extremely upset that all this has just lasted for so long. And with the exposure to the media nowadays, you know, like it's constantly being showed to us. Every time there's a police brutality act, it's the first thing we see. And you know, when Trayvon Martin first happened, obviously it was an uproar, and we thought that, you know, after that things would settle down. And it's just like every year, it just seems like there's something like another event, and it just really just seems like we're not being taken seriously. So like at a certain point, you know, of course, like the younger generation is going to take a stand, especially when we know that our ancestors and everyone before us has been fighting for so long. And, like, it still seems that we've come a long way, but it still seems like we're not really getting the respect and the equality that we deserve.
Well, how old were you when Trayvon was killed?
I don't remember my exact age, but I know I was in 6th grade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 6th grade summer.
Do you remember any feelings that you had during that time of seeing this all happen? Just anything?
Honestly, like I was scared. I was confused because, you know, some people, like, you know, when I went into circles with my white friends and like their parents, they were like, oh, you know, he shouldn't have been doing this, shouldn't have been doing that. But then when I would go speak to my black parents, you know, they would say the right thing. Like, you should not take the life of an unarmed black man, regardless of any situation. And so it just really confusing. I'm like, are these people really thinking that like that act was okay?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like where I was at.
Dia, would you like to jump in, Keenan, Miss George?
Both of them kind of hit a lot of the things I would have said, but I also feel as if my generation is coming into play too, because I feel like it's our turn to use our platform, like they said, with social media and all that stuff, to make sure that our voice is heard as well. But they hit everything else, so that's why I didn't add nothing.
Okay. Anybody else jump in? Miss George, you like to say anything?
His name is Julian?
Yes.
Yep.
That's Damon's son.
How old is he?
How old is Damon? I mean, Julian.
How old is he?
18.
19.
So you're 19, right?
Yeah.
You have no criminal background, right?
Nope.
So go get your gun license. That's your first step.
One thing, you got to turn down the if you have a TV on or anything, you got to turn that really down because we can't hear and so forth.
The first thing that you want to do is get your gun license. I mean, you're already ahead of the game of most young Black African Americans since you don't have no criminal history.
Oh, Don, you got to say who you are before everyone else said who they were and what kind of.
My name's obviously Don Straps. I'm the CEO of Boulevard 86. I'm born in Roxbury. One of my families was the first Black family in Roxbury. My mom went to school with Donna Summers. She used to throw the block parties back in the day. My uncle's Frank Matthews. I have 18 brothers. What I feel, I mean, I have 2 kids. Both of my sons, well, my oldest son, he's been at the range for like the past 4 years. He's 13 now. But I feel like for people like yourself, you shouldn't have to walk in fear. You know what I'm saying? I just feel as though stay away from that, but definitely get your own license to carry. Definitely, I'd rather take a fine than anything. I had attempted murder joint back in the day. That's what I got released for when I played professional basketball. And my firearm was licensed. I had to pay a fine. The reason why these people are doing this because they know that it's a fair tactic. It's a mental tactic. It's like they know that African Americans are not going to strike back because most African Americans, it's a census. Most of us have felonies. Most of us have priors. So it's like most white people, like I went to go pick up my gun yesterday, one of my other guns I bought. It was like 50 people in line, right? There was not one black person. And so my man Art shut the door so I could walk in and get my gun. But that's what happens. This is what they do. They train for that because they're already defenseless. They're already afraid of us. You know, us just being black alone is like, it's a victory. So they can't beat us through medical education, drugs. They're gonna find many ways to like take us out. But there's so many of us here, you know? And so I tell all the young kids, if you ain't got no record, just get your gun license. Just keep, living the right way. And always, at the end of the day, when police do run up on you, like you always gotta like change the defense mechanism, not always be so tight. If he feels like he's coming up to you angry or whatnot, ask him what his favorite team is, and just change the whole narration of things and see how he responds. And if he still come off in a negative way, then you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think those are my words for you, being young.
So one tactic, as Don is saying, is like, if you don't, hey, you need to learn how to arm yourself. That's one person's suggestion and so forth. Joe, you want to jump in here real quick? I know you.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I was still in transit over here. There was some stuff I wanted to talk about later, but I assume that's already passed. So I wanted to kind of talk about some of the beliefs of when it comes to owning a firearm. So I am 100% for that. I believe it's our Second Amendment right that has to be expressed, because if we're dividing up our category into races, the Caucasians have definitely taken that Second Amendment and are rolling with it. And the fact that a lot of African Americans avoid that is kind of puts us at a disadvantage. And especially in the situation that we're in today, it just, you have to protect yourself out there, because we're seeing now there's not a lot of people who are looking out for us to begin with. The only people we can trust is ourselves, and we're outnumbered out in this country itself. Now, I'm not saying, get a whole arsenal ready, we're going to war, but you definitely want to have yourself armed, because that is your right as an American to have a fire weapon. I know myself, I have at my house, I have a firearm. It's not, you're not supposed to say where it is, obviously, but I do have a firearm at my house itself to protect my home from anyone who I wouldn't want at my house. Just to speak on that subject itself.
It's really interesting. In Atlanta, there are a large amount of home break-ins or home intrusions. I lived in Boston, and I really never heard of that actually happen, but that's just a reality in Atlanta. People knocking down your door and taking what you get, and so forth. So I just want people to know that it's in different parts of the country, that's a different piece of reality. And also, there's a town, I think it's Kennesaw in Atlanta, right outside of Atlanta, that decided that every house needed to have a gun, and they put that as a city law, a city ordinance. And crime plummeted all the way down to minimal once they put that in. That I don't know if anyone here lives in Kennesaw, but that was just one thing and so forth. But I just want to make sure young people have the opportunity. Joe, what do you think about what's going on with in Keenan?
I wanted to elaborate on the gun thing. So
I just want to make sure we get the big piece out first, is about what are people feeling about the Black Lives Matter and the marching and all that other stuff. But you can add your comments also to the gun thing as well.
yeah, for the gun thing, it's your Second Amendment right to have a gun, and Georgia is pro-gun. So, and I want to add on to the whole gun license thing. It's a concealed carry permit. You don't need a license to have a rifle. You can buy a rifle without a background check, but when it comes to buying a pistol, that's when they do a background check, and you have to get a concealed carry permit for that. So I just wanted to elaborate on that.
Where you located?
I'm in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, that's different.
I also want to. I would like to chime in on that too, just with the gun stuff here. And I'm from Boston, but I live in Atlanta now. One of the things I would recommend for young folks is to join groups. There are, especially here in Georgia, in Atlanta, there's quite a few African American gun groups that meet on a monthly basis. So that's another thing that I would recommend joining groups and get familiar with your firearm. Just because you own a gun, you want to know how to properly shoot it, clean it. So that's my 2 cents. For anyone that's young, or if anyone that's in Georgia, I'd recommend joining groups.
And if anybody like wants to get together and go to the range, like I'm down for that. I'm in Atlanta. I like to shoot guns, and I'm trained in shooting guns, and it's a fun thing to do. So if anybody is in Atlanta that wants to do that after this, hit me up.
I wanted to kind of speak on the education a little bit, if possible.
Hi, before you do that, can I speak
No.
something on this topic as well?
Sure.
Hi, my name is Love. I was invited by Sylvia. I just wanted to say that, like, personally, I'm from Brooklyn, New York City. So this conversation is very kind of like alienated to New Yorkers. As you guys know, like, there's people who do have guns, but it's not really talked about in that way. And it's not like that much of a free thing where it's like, oh yeah, let's just go shoot some guns or anything like that. But I just feel like when we're talking about the system and our amendments and our rights and everything, at the end of the day, like, we also have to acknowledge that the system and the rights and the amendments and the Declaration of Independence and everything that was created around the structure of America was not built for Black people. So how do you navigate keeping a firearm for your protection, but knowing that it can work against you anyways? Like, I think that when we talk about this conversation of, oh, make sure you have protection, you have to also know the laws that go behind that. And in what ways can you protect yourself? What ways can you arm yourself and make sure that it was self-defense? God forbid anything comes to that level of degree. Like, and in this situation of police brutality, if a cop is doing something that's wrong and illegal, and you're in a position to protect yourself, would you look like the bad guy at the end of the day because it was a cop? Like, how do you navigate that type of conversation?
Well, I kind of like to speak on that personally. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen the recent controversial about Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta. So I was personally there. I was in the gray Range Rover. You can see in all the recordings. And I believe that's a perfect example of what happens when, at least in this case, this Mr. Brooks did start the assault, start the scuffle itself. But he shot the officer with a taser, which was non-lethal, and was killed. So the problem what comes to owning a firearm itself is that the system is going to be against you. There is no navigating around that. That's what I believe dwells into what Black Lives Matter is going on right now, is that a lot of the rules and laws which are put in place, like you said, were tailored for people who weren't of our skin color. And we have to navigate around that with the laws that they in place for themselves. And I want to say the best way to push forward and when it comes to this navigation is basically playing it smart in that case. I'm sure there's laws in place and you have to follow you don't have to follow those laws, but you want to follow those laws. But the fact of the matter is, like you said, those laws weren't meant for us. You have to make the right judgment yourself. And that's when it comes down to what you've learned, what you came growing up, which comes from your education, knowing what's right and what's wrong.
But then sorry.
Sure.
That's not necessarily true, because I had an attempted with a gun license from Virginia in Miami. So, I mean, yeah, it shortened my career, but I had to pay a fine. But at the same time, it was more of a home invasion. My man got killed in front of me.
I didn't hear what you said first. It was a screech.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
So I said that's not 100% necessarily true. When I was in Miami, my license was out of Virginia, and when I caught my case and my man got killed in front of me, I didn't get reprimanded like everybody else. It was a fine that I had to pay. So it all depends on the circumstance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like for instance, I don't get my CW till like what, the next 2-3 months, but I have my license out here and I carry every day, and the cops seen my gun like 2 days ago. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you know what type of time it is, and they know what type of time it is. There's no way you should just be able to keep your gun in your house while people are. I don't know how half of these people are getting lynched or half of these people getting ran up on. Well, I do know is because, one, they don't have a pistol on them. Two, once again, as a kid, you're doing dumb shit growing up in the neighborhood and having priors. You know what I'm saying? I'm 35. I mean, I did. Chip, no. I've been in a lot of, battles, at knife point, slamming people. But what I'm saying, when you're black and you growing up in the neighborhood, we all go through those situations. My baby sister, she just got her gun license, but she always was carrying. Both of my son's mother, before they don't have their license and they still carry. At the end of the day, if you're a female, you walking out here, you're going to the store, what's that noise?
Armand, Paul, there's a lot of background noise going on.
Oh, yeah, someone got a background thing going on. If you have you gotta put that on mute. Thank you.
Chip, you can control that as being the host. You can mute the guy with the hat on.
All right.
I think that's him that keeps pulling up in the picture.
So basically what I'm saying is you have a lot of, just women coming home from work, nurses, doctors, or whatever it may be, getting off the, MBTA lay or whatever, and you never know who's out there. Burglary, mace is not gonna really work. These videos where people are strong arming the tasers, and I tell people, get a gun enough to make a person back up off you.
I think you might have misunderstood what I was saying. When I was saying being smart, I'm from California, so you can imagine how hard it is to get a gun out there.
I live in LA.
Say again?
I live in LA.
Oh, you live in LA. Okay, so you know the challenge it is to get a concealed carry pistol out there.
I'm in LA right now.
Okay, Love.
Oh, might have been. Oh, sorry.
No, 1 second. Love, can you respond back? I think you've hit some points that I just want to make sure are not overlooked. Love?
Oh, thank you. Hi. Yeah. I was getting from I think Joel.
Yep.
What he was saying was that kind of that we have to be educated in ourselves in knowing how to navigate through, I guess, like where we live all around America, the gun laws are different. So personally for me, what I was kind of just trying to ask is if anyone does know like how it works in New York City, what resources you should, like if we can all share those types of resources, and instead of just being like, oh, educate yourself, because that's been a large problem in the Black community. I feel people telling other people to educate themselves, but they have resources that they can share, and we can just like, sometimes people just are ignorant to things. We just don't know. If you don't know, then you can't figure something out because you don't know how to figure it out, or you don't even know to figure it out. And for me, I got kind of like just surprised that people are even like, I've never known really a Black person besides my grandfather who owned a concealed weapon. So
are you in New York?
If you yeah, I'm in Brooklyn.
Any gun, yeah, New York has one of the strictest laws for guns, so you definitely want to do your research.
People, one thing we like to do is use the chat. If you have any information, you can also put in the chat, and I'm going to send it out. If everyone put their email in the chat, I'm going to send all the information in the chat out to everybody. So please use the chat. If you want to say something that someone's saying, or just say a comment, you're more than welcome to put it in the chat and just say, hey, I like that comment. You know what I mean? We should look at this and so forth. All right. Jump on.
And Love, thank you.
Go ahead. Love, do you want to say anything else? I just want to make sure your voice is, that, you brought up your points and it was pulled up.
No, thank you, Joel. And also, guy with the fitted, I forgot your name too.
John?
Yes, dropping some gems.
Okay. Lafayette, do you have anything to add on to this discussion? I love your hat, Lafayette.
Hey, man, you know, when you have a 20-year-old staying with you for the summer, she wants to dye her hair, and there's stuff left over, you know, daddy gets his hair dyed. But the only thing I can add to that is I personally believe to take dominion over everything that you can. And so in that respect, man, I live in the state of Virginia. I have a buddy of mine that he's an attorney, and we've actually found out that there's only 2 black gun stores in the state of Virginia, one out in Virginia Beach and the other one in North Virginia near DC. And here we are in the state capitol without a black-owned gun store. And so we found some black people that are actually interested in sponsoring this effort financially so we can have a black gun store. So whatever you're missing in life, find out a way to supply it to yourself and your community. That's all I would say.
Yeah. FJ, Francis Haywood, do you have anything to say about guns? You were in the military, all that other stuff as well. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, Chip.
Yeah, you want to share anything what your thought and your years of wisdom of what we're talking about?
Well, first of all, as one person already said, gun laws in every state are different, and what is required, the effort that's required in one state is definitely not the effort required in another. Massachusetts, New York, and California definitely have some of the strictest gun laws in the country, but also that is to obtain a permit to carry. I am quite familiar with guns. I own a gun, several of them actually, and I think
Uncle Francis,
one person said that.
What are you eating, Uncle Francis? Did I get you in the middle of dinner?
I'm eating a rib, okay?
We're looking at your hand, like, what is he doing?
I'm eating a rib, okay? Leave the brother alone. I haven't eaten since yesterday. Leave me alone, all right? But getting back to the point, it is getting guns into the hands of our young folks is a responsibility for a lot of people. Most importantly is the training on how to use it, when to use it, and why you're using it. One of the old statements used to be, you point a gun at somebody, you want to use it because they may point it at you and use it on you. So there is a lot of challenges to owning a handgun and owning a handgun and carrying and with concealment. So I would also suggest to everybody that if you want to do that, definitely get together. If you can get together as a group, that's even better because there's much more power in a group than as for an individual. Joining a gun club, starting a gun club, finding the black entrepreneurs and patronizing them because they're looking out for themselves and for you. That's what I have to say for the moment about that.
Thank you. Save me a rib, man.
I save you nothing. I got you covered, Chip.
All right, thank you.
Not a problem.
Miss Black, you want to jump right in?
Yeah. While I can appreciate everybody's comments on wanting to protect themselves and having a gun in their home, I think it is important to protect yourself. But at the same time, I feel like it's very reactive instead of being proactive, and instead of kind of tackling the issues that we're facing with a different perspective. Instead of being on defense, you need to be on offense and work to find ways to change legislation in order to have, the things that are going on kind of stop. So for me, while I understand that change is not quick to come through legislation, immediately, and it is important to protect yourself, I think it would help as a young person to just be more involved and make a difference.
I'm listening to him.
versus
Wait,
just
hold on one second.
I'm just not really a fan. I don't know if it's because I'm a woman. I don't want to put like gender roles on this thing, but I just don't feel comfortable owning a gun. I don't feel comfortable shooting a gun. I know it's important to have in order to protect myself, but just like Love said, here in New York, I mean, our laws are a lot different. I don't know anybody that really owns a gun, and it's, from what I understand, even illegal to have pepper spray. So my perspective is a little bit different from the others on this call, where in their state it might be legal to have a concealed firearm in their home or on them. For me, it's more about being proactive and trying to change laws, even though it's a slower pace. For me, I feel like that is just a different way to tackle the issue. And honestly, there's no silver bullet that's going to change everything right away. So tackling it from different sides, I think, is really important. And for me personally, I would do it through having some type of, hand in changing the laws and changing legislation, not just through police brutality, but from every end of the spectrum with education and, so on and so forth. So yeah.
Young women, I'm going to give the floor for young women right now because we just heard from a lot of young men. So young women, do you want to respond to this? Aaliyah, if you want to jump right in.
Hey, so when speaking on guns, I think everyone has a part to play. If you don't feel comfortable not carrying it, I know like some people like, you gotta do, but that's not you though. That's fine. I believe, a lot of different scenarios that we're seeing will be completely different if people did have guns. As well, but some people might be like, hey, I'm willing to give away my own life if it doesn't mean take away someone else's if we're in harm of me. But I did drop some resources in the chat though if people are interested in gun training and things like that. NRA has benefits, National Rifle Association, even though we associate the alt-right, you get benefits, you get, that's where you go for your resources and things like that if you are interested. That's just my 2 cents.
All right, that's good. Anybody else? Any other young women want to speak about this issue? Andrew, you have anything to say? Put you on the spot. CAU.
Here we go. I mean, I feel totally unrelated to the gun issue. Like, and here's my cat. People have said from the East Coast, from the Northern East, New York, Boston, it's just not my reality as far as I don't feel comfortable with gun situations or having a gun or owning a gun. I don't personally see the need to do that. It's just not my first reaction. It's not my first go-to. I have a son. I have a 16-year-old, and same. I don't see that. I mean, it's great to be trained in that and know what to do with it and so on and so forth. His father is a police officer, and so I have had my own experiences with it, having it in the house and all that other stuff. I just don't feel the need myself to have it or need it or want it.
Okay. All right. I don't want to turn this whole conversation into a gun conversation, but I just want to make sure everyone was able to say what they had to say. So the next piece is I just wanted to get more opinions on people just really talking about what are your friends protesting about, your peers. What do you feel about people of color out there, but the numbers of white people out there? Has anyone here actually been out and walked in the protest? Oh.
George, you there?
Yeah, I did a little freeze. Did anyone actually go out? Oh, my internet's unstable. It says it. We're all set?
Yeah.
Back? All right. So did anyone want to share their experience of going out there as a protester or someone walking in the march and what they saw on the grass level? Questions for anyone that went out there protesting or went outside.
I mean, I went out. I haven't gone out to a lot of them, but I went out to one or two of them. The one that I did go to, we marched around downtown Atlanta, ending at Martin Luther King Memorial. It was peaceful. I mean, I know a lot of media puts it as a protest all being bad, and very small instances of good or peaceful protests. But it was all peaceful protests. Just, at least for me, since I come from, at least for me, I come from results now, and it's not good to think like that, but that's kind of how I was brought up, or how I taught myself bringing up. You know, I want results now, and one of the things that just hits me with peaceful protests, I mean, it's given us strides towards the right direction, but it feels like a lot of the times it goes to deaf ears.
Anything else? I see a lot of people shaking their heads. Go for it, Miss Black.
Yeah, so I live in Manhattan, and the protests are literally outside of my door every single day, and every day I kind of have a different experience with the people that walk by. Personally, for me, I've been a part of one of the most recent marches, which was 2 weeks ago on a Monday. And just from what I've seen alone, there are so many different people outside of those who are Black and brown who have been fighting for our cause. And that to me has been really, eye-opening, that they are, seeing and fighting for for our struggle and the things that, are important to us. Not only did I see that here in Manhattan, but also all over the world. I mean, I saw people in Amsterdam coming out in groves, marching peacefully and fighting our fight. I mean, people in France, people, all over the world, marching for our cause. And I think that shift has made it that much more, and this movement that much more impactful. You see leaders of organizations donating funds to specific, like HBCUs, for example. This morning, the CEO of Netflix donated $40 million to not only Spelman, but Morehouse, and a couple of different other organizations. So seeing those corporations having a shift within their own organizations to create change has allowed me to look at this from the perspective of, okay, we're actually getting somewhere. But also too, I feel like sometimes I think about it and I'm like, okay, well, these organizations are only really donating money because it's in their best interest to. And if it wasn't in their best interest to donate, and if this movement didn't affect them negatively, then they probably wouldn't have participated in what we're trying to achieve. And so that's where, I feel like the envelope needs to be pushed a lot more, where it's not just money that they're donating, but they're actually implementing change within their organizations to put people of color in their executive leadership so that change can actually be seen long term. And then that's why I also feel like legislation needs to be put in place so that we can see these changes long term, not just, in the short run, not just, it's not just a fad, it's not just a movement that happens for a week or a month. And seeing these responses all over the world, I feel like I'm more hopeful,
Yes, thank you, Ms. Black. I just want to know how many people, by show of hands or waves, has a Netflix account? And even though if you borrow one, I mean, we still have one. I see how many hands? I think everyone's hand went up. All right. Okay, that's amazing to see. Keep on going. Anyone else want to share on that?
I wanted to share.
Go ahead.
Okay. I personally went to 2 different protests. I'm from Boston, so I went to the one that was from Dudley to the State House, and that one was peaceful, and it was good, but after like the looting and all that stuff happened, and it overshadowed, the media made it overshadow the whole event. And I feel like a lot of different news outlets are doing that. They're not showing what happened before all the looting and stuff like that. And I went to the Franklin Park, and we just marched around the park and stuff like that. And that one was good. It was peaceful too. But as soon as it hit 7 o'clock, like all the police were like swarming in, and like they just like made it very uncomfortable. And like, you know, like at first it was on the side. Of course, we're already uncomfortable because they're already like harassing us and stuff. But they made it like to the point that they're putting their cars in the middle of the street where people are walking and stuff like that. But also to go off of what I don't know her name, whoever just talked said, I do feel like we're starting to create change, but it also feels as if a lot of people are just doing it because it's a social media trend, and because the media is putting it out there like, oh yes, Black Lives Matter does matter, but like it's a lifestyle for us, and it's not just a pinpoint in time. Like just because the current people that have passed away suffered and died, but it's like actually a whole movement. It's not just to mourn them, you know what I'm saying? Like it's something bigger, and they're just using the current situation to push it out there. And I feel like, yes, some people are really with it, but some are not. But yeah.
Yeah. I would like to
Go ahead, love.
Okay. Sorry. I would like to piggyback off of her and Sylvia as well, because there's two things that are popping out a lot to me. One being, I don't know if anyone has heard or read Malcolm X's speech, The Ballot or the Bullet, but history definitely repeats itself. And I feel like, you know, we haven't even been 100 years out of slavery right now. And this should have been seen as something that was yet to come, because everyone has to do their part. And if you think that you can sit down and live and just live your lifestyle as a Black person and not have to do your part in any type of way, that racism wouldn't come knocking at your door at some point, then you're living in some type of ignorance is bliss type of reality. And in this speech by Malcolm X, he talks about, I know it was around the time of like the 1960s, and he's basically talking about how like that time threatened to be one of the most explosive times in that time period. And I feel like right now 2020 is a telling time that can be one of the most explosive times that we're experiencing in the 21st century. And I just think that I also was thinking about how the division that we had even in this call right now with the East Coast and just like in the South, and just thinking about how we think differently, it shows kind of like part of why in our communities it's been hard for us to all experience very different realities.
Yep, someone needs to turn off their background noise. Let me see if I can do it. Steph, I'll make you administrator next time, because I know how to do that. All right, go for it. Keep on going.
But yeah, so basically, I think that, well, one, I'm gonna share the speech for anyone who hasn't read it, because it's
look at my best friend, period.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, I'm gonna share the speech because it's very, very powerful. He talks about things like when white people say that we're against them, we're not against the white man. We're just that we're anti-exploitation, anti-degradation, anti-oppression. And if the white man want us to be anti-him, let him stop oppressing and exploiting and degrading us. It's the time that we're getting tired once again of the exploitation and the degradation that we've experienced as people of color. And I feel like if we create a reality around, even when it comes to the protests, like everyone has their role to play. There's protests, there's people doing donations online, there's people that are working in the front lines, and then there's people like Sylvia has said who are trying to be in legislation and bring that hand and change. And I feel that if we have a conversation regarding how we can create a reality that everyone can see together, and not just people like, oh no, I'm from down south and like I want I want to carry my firearm and this is what I think I should do. And then people from the East being like, oh, no, I can't get with that. How can we create a reality that moves towards change that we all can see happening? And I really think that's possible. Not that we all have to think the same exact thing, but that we can all agree on something that would benefit us all as a whole.
Excellent. Anyone else want to go, please?
I think that's one of the key things that's needed for this movement. Like Love was saying, there's so many different acts from so many different places where it's hard to implement change when it's a different everywhere, you know. If I had to give an example, it would be like the 13 colonies. They all came together and said, this is what we need, this is what we want, here it is, you know, get this. I mean, something we can all agree on. And I think that's one of the problems not a lot of people, you know, look at, where it's kind of sewed in to create separation, to create division between us, because that's our main, what makes us unstoppable is unification, right? And as long as we're divided and separated, that can't happen, and we can't come together to create the changes that we need. And this has been said hundreds of years, you know, even when Martin Luther King was marching, you know, we need to come together and march together for this. And somewhere down the line, a division broke, and then now we're here back again. We need to come together, and we need to make sure that we don't divide again, you know.
Go ahead, keep on. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, I really do feel as if it's incredibly important that we don't let our differences divide us as a people. We're all never gonna agree on, you know, certain political things and every single law. Like, every group of people is gonna have their differences, but we need to be able to accept our differences and come together for the better cause. The white men, you know, like, they don't agree on every single law, but they're still together and they still have the power in this country. So I really do feel as if it's important that we just learn and understand that, you know, our differences are going to be there, but we have to still love each other regardless of that and still come together and be united.
Steph, I know you've been, Steph Amon, I know you've been sitting there amply on the side. You want to add something? I know you always have something good to add.
Yeah, I just wanted to appreciate you even putting this together. It means a lot to hear from the young people. Matter of fact, this Friday, to celebrate Juneteenth, we'll be doing a small little parade in Somerville. So, you know, anybody in that area want to come down from Friday 12th to floor, little plug right there. Yeah. But I'm just applauding you young people. I mean, I'm in the backseat letting you guys drive this, letting you guys take it to where it needs to go. Whatever support, you know, we can add in. We're more than happy to, obviously. You know, even having this platform right here you put together. But it's just amazing to hear you guys talk, so articulate. You guys know what the mission is. And I say mission because obviously we are at war right now, and it's unfortunate that it had to take this long before we grabbed arms. But we know that this country was not built for us, and the only way that we can have it is be having you young people get into those elected positions and keep pushing for those businesses and do good by your dollar that we didn't do for our generation. And you keep on going. I'm proud of y'all. Thank you so much. Let me speak for a moment.
Uncle Francis, I want you to jump in real quick about you joined. You were, I believe, a reserve, correct?
All right, a couple of things quickly.
Yeah.
First of all, I have to say, because I'm so old, I did march with King when he was here in Boston, believe it or not. Long story short, I was only there for a minute because I was working that day, but I did step up for a minute. One of the most things we found out from the 60s up to now is that the youth, which is what you're expressing here, is fantastic. But one of the major things that has to be done is that people must not only meet, but follow it up with actions. Whether it's changes doing politics, sometimes, as you know, as you can see, politics rules this country. So we have to get into that and work it for our group, for our people. That's extremely important. The defense of ourselves with weapons, that's another question altogether. The main thing that rules this country is the politics. That happened with around during King's time, and I don't go into that, but it's also what's happening now. Our young folks must make their voices heard, not only with the actions on the street, but the actions on the street must now be transferred to the actions in the political systems of this country. That's how you're going to make some definite changes as a group.
I have a question for everybody. I'm just trying to be provocative as I'm supposed to be as the host, but has social media helped damper our generation about being joiners of organizations and so forth? It's really interesting. Maybe, and Uncle Francis, I bet you'll be able to hit this, is that we weren't at certain times able to go to certain clubs or certain places or join certain social organizations. So we had our own, but also we had mainly the Black church, which a lot of the social functions and also the community functions have come
in order to.
What'd you say?
Okay, at that time, back in the 60s and the 70s, we didn't have that kind of issue that we didn't go. We had more Black clubs, especially here in Boston. We had at least 10 of them down, and we had plenty of clubs and also downtown. So one thing we were really segregated, but we really didn't want to go, was to South Boston, because that was all white at the time. Okay, and you really didn't want to get involved in that. That's another story altogether. But we did have our clubs. We did.
You get kicked off.
Yeah, I think he cut out.
All right. But that's a question. Oh, here he goes.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
I mean, you came into a club. You saw a party, everybody left. Nobody to act the fool, as I would say. This gun issue and everybody carrying the weapons, that's what the young lady was saying. She doesn't want to live in that type of society, and which I could truly understand, because you never know what's going to make somebody go off. You end up dead, and your child may be motherless or fatherless. So she has a very valid issue on what to do and what not to do with guns. Again, we need to get into the political system of this country to change the laws that would affect us and make changes that will affect us.
But that's the point I'm talking about, is that without the phone and also the social media, there were ways that we as human beings wanted to get together, is that we couldn't sit there, and so we had to go see people at the club. We had to go to the Buffett in Central Square. We had to go to these places and all these good places where people would actually be and talk and communicate. But also there are a lot of things called a lot of different organizations that we meant to go to the meeting. We meant to do that. But now it's very interesting. I have a thought that, it's interesting when you're trying to do collaborations and business and all that about getting an agenda, is that I watch people now, even my generation, in fact, you sit in a room with people and you're trying to put together one agenda with 40 people and someone doesn't agree with your agenda or your piece, and not leaving the room and just being like, you know what, I'm not even about this anymore. But you know what, I just put my opinion on social media and I just got 100 likes. So what I say is good. And so therefore, you know what I mean? So the whole piece about building coalitions and all that is now, with the power of social media and likes and all that, has put our brain and neurons into a whole different kind of world of, and that's how you see a lot of celebrities will say something and they'll get 1 million likes or something like that. And, well, that's just who I am and that's what I do. But there's no more consensus building or going to organizations and being a part of organizations and doing the work and the phone calls and passing out the flyers and all that other stuff.
Okay, well,
that's the mobilization I'm talking about.
All right, in order to respond to that, social media is definitely a two-edged sword. If we didn't have the social media, especially every phone's the camera now, some of the things that's happening now is being brought to light, to the death of so many Black men and women at the hands of the law. That would have never have came to light if it wasn't for the phone. Yeah, and on the other side of it, which you bring a valid point, people are not getting together and looking at each other in the eye. They're looking down at their phones. They're putting their likes and their dislikes on social media, and people are responding to it. So what needs to happen again is that while all that is happening out in the front, what's happening in the background? What's happening in the background is that the political structures of this country is doing what they need to do in order to make them, their group, feel better. How do we intercede on that? We must become a part of that structure for us. We must be in the background. And when we come to speak, we're out there as a leader. But in the beginning, we have to be in the game in order to play the game.
Right. Anybody else jump right in?
I wanted to add on to that. I think too with like media, like people might see like Black Lives Matter in New York and they be like, oh my God, that's such a big movement or something like that. But they don't really know like what might be happening in Atlanta. So just because you see what's going on somewhere else, don't necessarily take it as it's going on here, you know, and always see what's going on in your local area. So that's one of the dangerous things I think. Then when people post stuff on social media, they're like, oh, they're taking care of it. But like, you never just really don't know though. So that was just my little thoughts on that. So when you see stuff on TV, don't be like, oh yeah, someone's taking care of it. They're taking care of it in New York, not down here, you know? So actually kind of be aware like what you're looking at and be aware of your environment, what's going outside, and don't just because you see someone doing something doesn't mean it's going to solve your problem.
So I think one of the main problems a lot of people get mixed up is that social media today are companies. They're not news sources. They're not. Their job is not to inform us. Their job is to make a profit. So all these platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I mean, you name it. What our definition of social media is, they put what makes money, not what helps the people. And no matter, I mean, regardless, you can take any standpoint for it. If they're not making their profits, they're not going to be there. So one of the things about social media that everyone has to know, especially moving forward, is that they're tools you can use, but they're not tools there to help you. Those tools are there to help themselves. And I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, it's worked. People have used these tools to organize, to bring together movements, but they control what trends. They control what pops up on your feed, not you, not your friends. You know, you can subscribe and follow all the people you like. It's going to be what they put through. I mean, sometimes a lot of people can sometimes take a look at their Twitter feed and take a look and see that something that was posted 10 minutes ago, which relates to what they're looking for, is 20 posts down, and then the next 20 posts are what the company wants you to see. So when choosing social media as a base platform is I think the main problem itself. I mean, I grew up as social media being that platform, but as I got older and learned a little bit more about how the world really works, it's simply not that. The thing is, it's one of those things where you have to take a step back and look at why was social media created? Where did it originate from? Where is it getting its kicks from? Because social media takes from what the real thing is and makes it into a profit. I just wanted to add that input into the social media conversation.
I totally agree with you, Joel. You made a very good point. Social media is a profit-making organization. They're there to make money. At the same time, they're supposed to be trying not to be biased, but we know that they are. So we, as a group, as a race, we need to become part of that social media. All of us, just some of us, to get into the game so that we can put our ideas, our thoughts forward, so that we can help us. You know, there needs a point that people need to understand that it's critical in order for Black people to really and truly get ahead and stay ahead. They need to become part of the situation.
Next.
Chip?
Go for it.
What do you think? What do you think?
No, my whole thing is that I think that that we need to get back in consensus building and being able to sit in the room and hash out an argument without or a situation, and making sure people don't walk out the room. I mean, we kind of gotta be like Congress, or be like House of Representatives and all that other stuff, where people get in the room and you have to get this number to agree in order to get something going on. Because right now we have everyone talking about what is the Black agenda. What is the agenda for Black Lives Matter? Does anyone actually know?
To eradicate police
I
brutality.
believe it's for us to go forward and not get killed.
Exactly.
For us
That's
to move forward as a group and not get killed.
Yes, and so who is our leader? Who presents that to who needs to get that where to go? Because a lot of times, as we're seeing, is that is that people are saying, well, this is your leader and this is your leader, and we're like, wait up, a leader has followers, all right? And so, a leader has followers, number one, and so. We look at certain people that say, okay, they say that's your leader, but you're like, wait up, they don't have any followers, but who anointed them as the Black leader?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then right now, who's leading these young people right now? I mean, so does Al Sharpton show up, or does so-and-so show up? And say,
It's a lot of young people that are actually leading their own movements and in their own communities trying to strive for change. But then you also have, people who are part of an older age group who are coming together on an aspect to bring people together so that they can vote, so that they can tell the youth how to vote, because a lot of people in the youth don't either support voting or don't want to vote. There's a lot of different avenues that people are going down to spread awareness.
I saw a couple of hands up, please.
Do it, King.
Go ahead, Black.
Yeah, so just to the point about social media, I almost feel like, yes, it is a profit based kind of company, but at the same time, the diversity that we've seen in protests and the number of protests that are happening not only within the United States but around the world, I feel like probably wouldn't have happened without social media. So to, on one end of the spectrum, like, yeah, social media is a hindrance because it doesn't allow people to connect face to face, but that also gives that we're trying to create tentacles, so to speak, to reach people around the world. Because I do believe it is, yes, it is a United States issue, there's also racism and police brutality all over the world against Black people. And I feel like the fact that we've been able to reach so many people has kind of forced different corporations and our government specifically to react differently than they have in the past, because so many people are aware and so many different types of people are fighting for our rights specifically.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Hold
with
on.
what she
Who's
said.
that? I don't know who that is.
I'm sorry?
We got to see you. I don't see a face.
Oh. Hi.
Oh,
that was my sister who just was talking.
Okay, jump right in. Sorry.
So I agree with what she said in terms of social media also being a way that really has impacted what we have been able to do, because for example, there's a lot of people who aren't able to attend these protests given maybe health issues or whatever the case may be. And a lot of people who are influencers on Instagram are using their platforms to spread awareness about petitions that people can sign for whoever can't physically be there. People are making donations through social media. People are spreading awareness about safety precautions that people can take for the people who are actually outside protesting. There's a lot of information that is found out through social media, and sometimes it can be contradicting because you don't necessarily always know if the information is correct or not. So you have to, do the research to make sure that your resources are correct and accurate. However, a lot of people are also using social media as a way to connect with each other so that they can figure out meeting places for these protests and safe ways to maneuver during these protests so that they don't get hurt by anybody and by any of the police, and just learning different ways to be cautious. So I feel like social media has definitely been a huge impact in a positive way
to help spread awareness, and also for the people who aren't able to physically go outside, they can still make a change in another way and use their social media platforms as one of the tools to do so.
But I do want to bring up, and I just want the older people in here, Uncle Francis, Lafayette, Francisca, myself, Jules, Ralph, a couple other people here, Andrea. It's very interesting. Uncle Francis, when you were growing up, how many TV stations did you have?
When I was growing up, we had 3.
3 TV stations.
I hate to say this, in the beginning, we only had 1. Then we went to 2. And then in the mid-50s, we went to 3.
Okay. Uncle Francis, real quick, and how did you go to the bank back in the day?
We went to the bank.
Did you have an ATM? Did you have an ATM?
No. First of all, understand, the bank was open from 10 to 3, and it was closed on Wednesday. So you had to go, yeah, that's right, it was closed on Wednesday. So you had to leave your job to go to the bank at lunchtime and wait with 10,000 other people. Okay, from 10 to 3 was the banking hours closed on Wednesday. There was no ATM. Those were the banking hours at all the banks.
So on Friday, if you didn't get to the bank, so you didn't have any money, what happened?
Yeah, SOL. That's right.
All right, but I just want to put this all into perspective. It also just how I'm going to tell you, when I was in my teenage years, I was a club promoter, and so what I would do was get a party, and Lafayette knows this, a lot of people know, when I was 19, 20, is that we didn't have internet and all that other stuff, is that we had to go out in the streets and pass out flyers. So there was one time, there was a club, they gave it to me one day before, and I had to go downtown, and also the power of the mouth, of the Black community mouth about knowing there's a party. Let me tell you, I found out 7 o'clock, and the next day, one day, and then the next day I had 1,000 people actually at my party on Lansdowne Street at Access. So, and I think Ralph remembers these days as well, about the social. It's saying that I do want to say that we do have our own internal network I just want people to remember about those times when you heard about a party. Andrea, you might remember all those days in Clark, Atlanta, and so forth, about filtering all that information that we do have through our own mouths as a spreading source and so forth. So have we unrelied on that? I mean, some people, they have a term called, Sierra, slacktivism. And it talks about, it's a term that's used in academic circles about how some people say, hey, let me put my profile as Black Lives Matter and put up a picture and saying, you know what, I've done my social protest for the day, or whatever. Is that, I mean, this is a discussion, doesn't mean that's right or wrong, but is that actually activism, or they're calling it slacktivism, meaning that, so forth. Andrea, please. Andrea, go ahead.
Sorry. So that kind of goes along with what I wanted to say, was that when we talk about this movement, we talked about activism, for me, it's every day. What you do in this world and what we're doing now, it's very promoted right now. It's on the media, and everybody knows, and there's like pretty much that one focus about police violence and so forth. But I think in whatever spectrum you are, meaning whatever your role is in life right now, you should be an activist every day. Every day, whoever you talk to, whatever you do, whatever your profession is, whoever you are as a person, promote activism every day in your life. Whoever you need to talk to, promote who you are, promote that Black Lives Matter every day. Not just now that, media is going on and everybody's very knowledgeable about pro this, pro that. Do this every single day. After this and to the day you die, you are an activist. So be that every day, so that this is not something temporary, which is what a lot of people are thinking, and like, oh, this is all going to die down and we'll be out, whatever. Every day, this should be on everybody's mind every day, with everybody you talk to all the time.
Right on. Anybody else want to go? Go ahead, Lafayette.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. The first thing we have to realize is that we have a long tradition as Black people.
And whenever Black people have something going on, you could always see it within our art, whether it was music or physical art, but you could always see it. And so as it comes to social media for us, we have to, like I said earlier, take complete total dominion of it, get creative is AS, AF, get creative as we can and use every tool in your toolbox. Create the content that you want to see and exploit all the advantages of that media, because that's how we win. The main thing that people have to understand, that I'm teaching a lot of guys out here, well, guys and gals out here, is that community organizing 101, you deal with things the way they are, not the way you want them to be. And so if that's part of your environment, you figure out a way to use it for your advantage all the time. All right. What I did out here, one of the things I did, I went to some marches, and I'm kind of known as a community organizer, activist, beat some Fortune 500 companies. And the mayor of my city was like, yo, I want you to meet these young cats. And so I started mentoring them. I started mentoring them and teaching them how community activism and community organizing actually works. And so one of the things that I would tell people is it's not intuitive. It's not intuitive, it's not natural. It's something that we're extremely good at, but it's something that also needs to be studied. The thing Chip was talking about earlier with the conflict, people don't know it, but the NAACP and SNCC and all those civil rights organizations, we never saw them in conflict with each other publicly, but they would stay locked in a room for 14 hours and have it out. Black people are Black people. It's just that they had an agreement that before we leave, we're gonna have some kind of agreement, and we're gonna present a united front. Slacktivism, to address that real quick, I don't really believe in that. I think it's more so that we have stopped organizing, especially in the Black church, to the degree that people have forgotten how to organize. And because we have forgotten how to organize, we have people thinking they can put up a post on Facebook, and it's like, I did my activism for the day, let me go take a shower. And it's like, nah, it's a long, drawn out process that's not gonna be over anytime soon. And
I have a comment too.
Jump right in.
When he's done.
Go ahead.
No, when you're done.
Oh, okay. The last thing I was gonna say, what in response to what me and some of my friends that are activists have been seeing, we're actually putting together a website, and we're gonna have clips from ranging between 2 to 5 minutes on things that we've seen. For example, my first one is gonna be protest in the community organizing world are like one night stands. So if you go to a protest and you don't have contact information, you wasted your time. Get all the information you can. And it's just we're just gonna put out little bullets that people can learn real quick from, instead of boring classes. That's it.
What I wanted to add on about the whole term of slacktivism is that I feel like there's people on social media, they don't, in my opinion, I feel like they don't label themselves as an activist just because they signed one petition for the day, or they made a donation and they're like, yeah, I'm an activist now, I'm doing my part. But like, I feel like, people are going to use, like you said, their resources and their tools to get creative, to find ways to contribute. I don't necessarily feel like all people are, labeling themselves as activists. I just feel like they're trying to use their resources in a way that they know that they can help. If they can't protest and go out there. And I feel like anybody who is labeling themselves as an activist just because they did their donations or they signed their petitions and they did their part, are not really part of the cause. Because if you were really part of the cause, then you're going to be making sure that you are constantly working on this as an effort, not just, oh, I did this, I clocked in at 2:00 and at 3:00 I was done signing my petitions and there you go, I did my part. Like, anybody who is truly for the cause is going to be constantly thinking of different ways to use their tools and their resources to help in whatever way they know they can contribute.
And I just want you to know, Sierra, this is the term slacktivist is just a term, and it's just used to just define what people are. It's just a grouping term. So don't look at slacktivist as a bad word. Just that's what people believe they are doing their activism. So it's very different from activists. This is a slacktivist. I just want you just to not look at it as a derogatory term, but this is what some people actually put themselves in a category of. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good. All right.
Can I jump and say something as well?
Yeah.
So I love what I think it was Lafayette, I was reading his name, was saying about how we have forgotten how to organize. I think that another thing that I'm thinking about also in the 1960s was like the sit-in movement with African American students when they all did a sit-in at a segregated area. It was like a restaurant, and that was put on TV. And also many other things that have happened during the civil rights movement and just like during times of like trying to create reform, where Black people have demonstrated things that were broadcasted. And that was like kind of the beginning of social media, quote unquote. It wasn't social media yet, but the beginning of the world, are our country's issues becoming globalized issues, if that makes sense. And that's what I think social media has been a catalyst in globalizing issues and making people feel more things. And I think a large part of why it's been hard for us to learn how to organize again is because we don't feel the crack of the whip on our backs anymore. We don't feel the actual direct oppression of, no, I'm not going to let you into my store because you're Black. It's happened in certain areas of America, but it's not happening to all of us in a way where it's very, very happening directly in your face. So I think that if we can use Lafayette's suggestion of creating content that benefits us and becoming the change that we want to see. I've been thinking about things like that as well. I already told Sylvia about some ideas that I've had in trying to create platforms where we're making people that are of color and that aren't of color just really, really feel what's going on in the world and really feel the unjust system that we've been living in very quietly. And another thing I think is really important is females and women being, I don't even like to use the word woman anymore because it objectifies who we really are, but just female, and even females, I'm sorry. Anyways, people that like me being able to use their voice and have a voice and a say, because I also feel like I know about way more male activists and change makers than I do about the women in history who have really created the change. So I think that that's something that also needs to be addressed. And also, if we learn to organize in smaller groups and don't try to think on such a large scale, that could also help us as well. Because if you have small leaders in your small communities, then those small leaders can organize with each other, and then it can become a bigger situation potentially.
Right on.
Hi, can I speak real quick?
Yep.
I've kind of had a different experience. I've been to 5 protests so far. It's gonna be 6 on Saturday.
Who you are, because we're trying to figure out who's talking.
I'm sorry. I'm Sanaa George. I go to Spelman. Yeah, and on Saturday will be the 6th one. I've been to a lot of protests, and a lot of them have been local community ones. A lot of them have been in Kennesaw. And what I've noticed is that a lot of them are organized by people my age. I feel like my generation, we're good at organizing, but I feel like the problem comes with consistency and boycotting. I feel like that's more of our problem, not necessarily organizing, but rather boycotting. I feel like I honestly feel like we're good with organizing things, but when it comes to like sticking with it, especially when it comes to boycotting, I think that's our issue.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Go ahead, Don.
All right, so I had my own protest in City Hall. I had over like 5,000 people. The military base was right in the back of my backyard where I live at. I mean, this is all good and all, but like, how many people are willing to like? Eventually, it's a war we in. You know, people who was activists in that time. You know, there's a lot of people who lost lives, and there's a lot of people who survived. And it all sounds good, but it's like, who's willing to really be on that front line and take that stand? That's the problem. Like, it's a lot of talking here, but who's really out there? You know, I've seen hired looters. I've seen, this is what the police is doing. It's like, so I kicked all the looters out of my march. You know, we had the military in front of us and back of us in City Hall. We never had no riots or anything. It was a peaceful protest. But I just feel as though, like, you really had to really, really go through something to say, like, that you're willing to stand for this. Like, at the end of the day, it comes with money, and it's going to be a war. It costs money to go to war at anything. And whatever you're trying to do with these laws and these legislations, these things you're trying to get.
Well, doesn't that go back towards a conversation that I'm pretty sure you've had when people are talking about circulating the black dollar? And I think the girl who just spoke, when she was talking about boycotting, and that involves us taking away the financial power from like these big corporations and stuff like that. And even when I mentioned us coming together in a way where, through our differences, like you're saying, everyone's experiencing a different reality and not all of us are willing to be at the forefront. Personally, I've been trying to navigate where I fit in this time period and what I can do to create the most change. So when it comes to like circulating the black dollar, if we can talk about that as well, like, what are ways that, money is power and knowledge is power. So how do we navigate that conversation as well?
Where's our engineers? Hold on, Chip. Where's our engineers? Where's our guys creating the cars? Like, where's our Netflix? Where's our things like that?
But we have those, but we don't support it.
Because sometimes the infrastructure is not. I mean, I have a company. You know what I'm saying? So, and I just don't create for Black people. I have a business.
Yeah.
When you see most Black businesses, their infrastructure is not set in place right. You know, they say. Go ahead.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you. Okay. I agree completely with Don. Because I myself, I want to speak kind of before I dove in. I want to kind of jump in the black dollar. This isn't the black dollar. This dollar was made by the white man. So it's our adaptation of the dollar is what we have to work with right now. Because right now we're using what they gave to us to try to make ourselves successful. And I think that's one of the hardest things, is that we are trying to win a fight for ourselves using their tools.
Thank you.
And I wanted to also speak to Don about the boycotting when it comes to Black businesses and such. I myself, in trying to start a business as well, and I'm in the tech industry, and I develop applications, and I develop video games for people to consume. And the fact of the matter is, these developments, especially when it comes to tech, I have to develop these for white people, and I put my culture into it. But the sad fact is, the people who are running the advertisers, the people who are selling my product, are going to put this towards themselves, which are in this case Caucasian people. And I've seen it. I've seen it so many. I mean, it's so hard. When you see the problem, and it's so hard to come up with a solution, because the tools we're given to come up with a solution are almost bare minimum to none. And it's always an upward climb when it comes to that. Now I'm not adding anything too much. I want to stop there. I'm just adding problems right now.
No, you're not. People got to understand, this is concrete rooted. This has been going on for 400 years. So like, if you're talking about a CBS or all these other companies, like, these things been here for over 100 years. So when they see you coming, they're going to put a stop to it regardless. Now, at the end of the day, you push, they push back. Now, my question is, how far are you willing to push? Like, you want a handout from somebody that's not going to give it to you if you really have nothing to show for it. So create your own situation.
But who said that Black people are not creating their own situations?
Listen, we're very artistic, right? But then again, where you need the money from? Why are you gonna go get a loan? Why are you going to the banks?
I mean, it's perfect.
I never took out a loan, and I never had an investor. I did everything on my physical cash. So
See,
what I'm
that's
saying is,
you're saying that like it's
no, can I
out
finish?
of
Though?
like it's out of question. But if you're a Black entrepreneur, you can't go to banks, and you have to figure out a way to self-fund.
No, I've self-funded. I'm not saying not to, but what I'm saying is at the end of the day, create a good product and have good character and have and good infrastructure, and people will come. Period. If you're sitting here looking for the next person to fund that, you got to abide by their rules now.
And now the biggest problem, we were trying to do that. Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, Black Wall Street, and look at what they did to that. I mean, it's shown in history where we push towards that. We can't play by the rules because they're going to have planes operated by white people to come and bomb those, and the government's going to do nothing about it. And
Let's talk about the emerging technology of Bitcoin, Joel, real quick.
Bitcoin is a currency which it's encrypted, meaning that the coin that you have cannot be traced. Unlike the dollar or the bank, it's owned by a bank. If you get a dollar that's printed in the United States, it's printed in one of the 12 reserves in the United States, while Bitcoin is held user to user interactions, which makes it near impossible to actually hack that currency, which is why a lot of people use it.
So have you heard of Suponic Global? Because I'm a part of that.
I have not heard of Suponic Level.
It's another coin. It's another coin. It's a gaming coin where it helps you. It has so many different streams of income. So the what's it called? It has 678,000 layers per second where you can generate money from. So it's for the gaming industry. So what happens is right now they have 55 cents a share, and it should be at $1 when they go public in October. So right now I put in 10 grand, and 10 grand can give me 10,000 a month, for the next 20 years of my life. So it's like, and there's so many ways. There's a gaming development where you can make money from that I put money in for my son. There's a marketing development, and there's an investing development for that. And Bitcoin is a part of it.
Don Jeffson, Joel, they're both Joel's in the gaming industry, so I want to make sure
my sons are. Yeah, I'm not, but my sons are. So I made sure that I was definitely.
I mean, it's the industry itself. Oh, sorry.
Hi, if I could jump in on the cryptocurrency, to reference what the young gentleman with the gentleman was saying about creating its own our own currency, and that's where cryptocurrency has come onto the scene. There was that void there with the dollar losing its capacity, and whereas all fiats are diminishing, they created Bitcoin, and it was used on the underground, such as what was the name of the platform where the gentleman was selling marijuana? They were selling drugs.
There's a lot of platforms you can do that on the internet.
Black market?
Well, Bitcoin was the original, and it came from this is going back with recycling dollars. They created something where they could do trade, that they didn't have to depend on fiat, that is taxed and centralized.
Yeah, so so Bitcoin is decentralized currency. So
right.
Yes. So what you're speaking of is basically currency, which is user to user, which is what a lot of online drug deals are used Bitcoin because
it surpassed drug user, because once Bitcoin went public back in 2017, it opened to the retail shops. Now we have cryptocurrency Bitcoin ATM machines. You're able to buy your food. All of your supplies and needs are now being able to be met with cryptocurrency. So that goes back with funding for ourselves now. pretty soon the dollar is going to be obsolete. They're printing the stuff up like people print T-shirts, and there's nothing backing it. It's no longer backed behind gold. So if we're looking to finance our own opportunities and our own lifestyles, I feel that it's very important that we educate ourselves on what is the next form of currency that is viable straight across the board. Not just, gaming right now is the top pushing emerging how you say currency right now. So I think that it's worth looking into, because banks, if you have bad credit, there that go, and then you have to wait six months to a year to 2 years to get back in front of a loan officer. Loan officers are becoming obsolete. Everything is going digital, and that's what I'm hearing. That's what's missing from the conversation.
I think that everyone needs to also know what is Bitcoin, what is the dollar. All these currencies are just something that everyone can agree on has a value, and with that value of that currency can purchase goods with that currency value. If you go back far enough,
but it's not backed up by anything any longer. So what is the dollar worth right now?
So the
here
dollar
in the United States as well as abroad.
Like gold.
So the dollar is back. So think of it, the dollar is backed by the United States, the yen is backed by Japan. These currencies are backed by their countries, and then their countries are backed by what the country's natural resources, what values that they have to provide for that dollar. You have to jump back thousands, hundreds of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of years to when I could say these things are very rare. So this cost me 5 horses, since this is very rare to have, which is the basis of currency.
Well, right now, today, what is the dollar worth is what I'm saying. We could go way back. You could buy a loaf of bread for 2 cents, but that's not the case now. It's $5. And we're not even talking gluten-free bread. So like we gotta come up. We gotta come up to what's going on right now. Like, what is the dollar worth? Look at our debt to ratio, right?
Inflation.
If we're trillions of dollars in debt.
That's more inflation.
Okay, I know this is turning into we should be able to talk about this at another time, but Lafayette, did you have something to say real quick?
Yeah, before I jumped off, I just wanted the people that are doing the community organizing tip, just be aware of what's getting ready to happen. There will be a backlash from white people. We've already started seeing it, and it's going to get a lot worse. In addition to that, they're starting to call people to the table. All right, they know who they calling. They know who they calling, and those people are people that will 9 times out of 10 already compromised, or people that they can compromise. And it's your job wherever you are to actually find the people and identify the people that's been doing this social justice work for a long ass time, and to get them in those meetings, to get them in those seats, and get those other people that they call to stand down, because it's going to be nothing but shortchanging. And
I agree.
They're hanging us. They're doing drive-bys. I mean,
the political side.
Yeah, and Joe. Well, I was gonna say, Joe, 50 Cent got a great book. It's called Hustle Harder. Get that book, Joe.
Yeah, we got 15 more minutes on this call, so I just want to respect everyone's time. Can everyone put their email inside of the group chat to make sure I can send you the video and all this other stuff?
Yeah, to piggyback on LaFette, I just started reading that 50 Cent book. It's a great book. Real good book.
Go ahead, jump right in.
What is our agenda?
Someone's got the background on. Go for it.
Can't hear you, Sylvia.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, I think just back to George's point earlier when he asked everybody, what is the agenda for Black Lives Matter? We've covered so many different topics that and far beyond just police brutality. And I think it's important for everybody to kind of get on the same page about, you know, what it is that we're asking for. And I feel like as a young person, we don't really have those things bullet pointed to Lafayette's point earlier.
I can't with the slave.
That we're all kind of striving.
Told you.
I don't know if anybody else feels the same way, but it just felt like when George asked what our agenda was, people just said kind of police brutality when it's so much more than that. It's education, you know, it's trying to figure out how to support Black-owned businesses. It's, you know, trying to figure out how to create policies that support, you know, people who, I don't know, want to protect themselves with whatever weapon, you know, they may feel most comfortable with.
Someone got a little snick. I don't know what that is.
Okay, I just put it in the Miss Black. I just put it in the chat. But the lady you're actually looking for, and she is completely awesome. Her name is Ashley Henderson, and she runs an organization called the Highlander Center. HighlanderCenter.org. You heard of her, Chip?
Mm-hmm.
She is a straight up beast. And they will give you money to learn how to organize. But with that, I'm out of here. Peace.
Okay.
Thank you.
Questions on agenda items. Does anyone want to, I mean, this is what it is. We heard many different things put out there. The 5 E's that we came up with were education, equity, income equity, employment, equal employment, entrepreneurship, ending police brutality. I think I got them on. Education, K through 12.
So,
I mean,
Chip,
K
you
through
cut out.
16.
You cut out through all of that.
Education, K through 12, and equity, entrepreneurship, employment, and ending police brutality. Those are the 5 E's that I've come up with over the last, just hearing people over the last 2 months. And they actually all came out. They all came out under E. They had an E on there. So, employment and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship was a newer one. So that's what. And both of those fall under economics. So forth.
Okay. Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So is the real argument over when people have like a 9 to 5 and they want to get paid more for their position or move up in the company?
I think it's both, moving up and getting paid more.
And so the backlash is like, you feel like you're not getting what your worth, right? Or you feel like somebody else got put in front of you.
Well, it's a white company, Don. I think you hit it on the nail on the head. It's a white company and white structures. I think you're nailing it. You're right. Make your own shit.
Right. But I'm just trying to figure out, like,
People are
Can I
trying
mention
to
something?
Yep, Joe.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Mm.
Go ahead, Bob.
I was gonna say, just with that question, it makes me. I'll also put this link in too. There's a book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGroy, and it basically explains a lot about things that have happened throughout the Atlantic slave trade and through slavery leading up to now that we literally, as Black people, have PTSD towards, that we don't understand or don't know because of the lack of knowledge. And I think the lack of knowledge is like a really big thing, and a really big thing to like understand about why people don't shift and move in a certain way that they do, that they should probably be moved. And also I think unlearning, when you talk about the agenda, the unlearning of things is a big thing, because we have been taught and brainwashed in so many different ways. So what is it that we have to unlearn in order to begin to actually take those steps towards the 5 E's that you even spoke about? Right. It's not only a matter of, oh, just create a business, because there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Black business out there, and they don't have the proper structures. They don't have the proper marketing tactics and the proper, because guess what? Whenever people want a business to thrive, who do they go to? They hire a white accountant. I'm pretty sure some people that might have businesses even in this call right now probably have a white person handling some of the ins and outs when it comes to their business. And I'm not saying this is like, sorry.
I'm not saying I'm dumb, but see, the thing is, like, I get it. It's a big color thing going on right now, but business is business. I know everybody want to stay within their space of black this and black that. You're still dealing with separation, period. But my staff is black, just cause organically. But it's not like I'm out here looking specific for black people. If you could do the job, get the job done, period. Because my company has to move forward. The fact that a lot of people are standing still because they're like, all right, I need to look for this person. But sometimes that black person don't show up on time, or the black person don't get the shit done.
Right.
So what are we talking about here?
But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a matter of doing your, okay, so you're a business owner, right? And my mom also owns a business, and I work for her business. And there's a common like denomination of like, you know, oh, but it should be a matter of if you can do the job, you get the job, and that type of conversation. But what I'm speaking on is like knowing the reasons behind that type of reaction from the Black community. Like, I feel like it's like a pushback. On one side, there's people who understand the systems and structures and certain things in business, and then there's people who just don't get taught those. What about the people that grow up like in the hood and just really don't ever have those type of figures? Like, I think it's like a matter of doing our part in that way as well.
Let me jump in as well, and I just want to reference, there are brothers and sisters that don't do well on the SAT and don't do well that have run very successful businesses in Baltimore on the drug trade, knowing the product, all these other things. And also I want people to realize is that systems fund things that look like them. So a bank is going to fund something that looks exactly like them. And so when a Black church, if you're thinking about, and I used to run a nonprofit. It was interesting, just say the nonprofit, the bank is a square. They love to fund things that look like them, which is a square. All right. So here I am, a triangle that has, I'm trying to get funding from the square, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, you're not a square, even though I might be functioning. But however, the discussion that we need to have and push it is for that square bank to realize that, okay, with that square I can get, even though I'm a triangle, I can get square results. Do you see what I'm saying? I can get the same results, even though I might not look exactly like you and produce a square, I can get those results. And so a lot of times, like in the foundation world, they say, well, you got to look like this and pass in this and do it like this in order to get a grant. You know what I mean? But, there are many small nonprofits and church-based organizations that have been doing fantastic work, even though they might not have the books the way exactly that they want it, but it's still functioning, works well, and has keeps on going on.
So,
Chip, I gotta jump off. I just want to say I enjoyed the conversation, listening to all these young folks. I'm originally from Boston. I live in Atlanta. One thing that I do want to say is that since we're talking about business, you gotta hire who can get the job done. It's not a black or white thing. It's about who can get the job done for my business to move forward. So if the white guy is gonna show up on time, be there, I'm sorry, I'm gonna hire them. Will I spend time on someone that's black and young that knows nothing? I will. Let me finish. I will do that as long as they show up, they're on time. I'll spend the money for them to be there. That's all, that's my other 2 cents. The other thing that I want to say before I want to jump off, since I think you're Joel, right?
Me? Yeah.
I sent you an email, or since you're in the media field, which I am as well. Did you get that email?
Let me look real quick.
I sent it to you last week because you said you was in the media field. I gave you a whole bunch of references. So I didn't get a response from you. So that's another thing that young folks need to do is that when a person sends you an email, you should always reply. Ralph Valerie. You should always reply. You should always reply back with a thank you. That's just how a business is. I appreciate what you've done or sent me, and people will always remember that. Back whenever. So that's something I'll recommend. Oops.
Whoa.
I just have to I really, really have to just say one thing. I definitely feel like it is a black and white thing. I think that that makes me think of people who say, oh, I don't see color. It is a black and white thing. And I feel like when it comes down to it,
let me finish. I wasn't quite finished, so let me
oh,
finish.
sorry. I'm sorry.
I wasn't saying a black and white thing. I was talking more of dollars.
Okay.
Green does not have color. As long as I pay my bills on time, I pay whatever needs to get done, and you pay your things that needs to be done. That's all the bottom line. What I'm saying is that if I hire someone to do a job for me and they get the job done, I'm not looking at your color. I'm looking at get the job done. The thing is that we got to get these young folks to look at that, be on time, be alert, and just get things done. And then the young black community will get hired more for jobs.
But there's so many people.
That's just my
Can I say one sentence? Can I say one sentence? We live in an economy where it's competitive, and if you're not competitive, you're going to lose. That's simply how it is. I mean, you can do the right thing. What you're saying, love, is the right thing, but the economy we live in is not forgivable for that. When you do the right thing.
What I'm trying to say is that you guys are assuming that there's not, in a way, what you're saying is making me think that you're insinuating that there's not enough black people to hire. Like, okay, you want the guy that can get the job done, right? Why can't we be like the Jewish community and look for the black people that can get the job done? Why does it have to be, oh, whoever comes, I'm gonna hire them? Why can't we have exclusivity as a community as well in order to breed that's the type of dynamics and the type of mindset that we need our black people to have? This is a matter of like us always thinking that we can join other people's things. The dollar wasn't even created for us.
Say again.
Can I say one more thing? I got to jump on. I want to say one more thing. I would hire you, sister. So we need more people like you that's more enthusiastic because you'll be part of the team. So we need more people like you. And you got to spread that word out.
But the thing is, I want to hit, but, and Joe knows I get on him a lot, and, Julian as well, is that the follow-up to detail, and Jerome knows 100%, is that the follow-up to detail and writing emails and all that stuff, it has to be on point, all right? I read some emails from young people look like they just text me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this is not, send it back. You're going to have to actually give me complete sentences. You must give me a complete salutation. You must put your information at the bottom that says who you are.
That's how they identify you.
School, what cell phone number I can call you at. You have to put all that information in, because if not, I have 3 other people that are coming right over you that are doing that. All right. And then you ask why I'm not getting the job or why am I not getting the resources? All right. Because other people are playing the level up to here while you're just giving it up to here. You have to follow up. You have to be attention to detail. And I think that's what some of the things Ralph was saying.
I wanted to add, like, there's a lot of talk about the black dollar. It ain't gonna save us. It's a part of it because we need to eat, we need to survive as well. But at the end of the day, but you don't want to recreate white capitalism in Black America. So if that looks like maybe co-ops. Wow. This is like when you're an owner of the business. So we can't always get into, you don't want to recreate capitalism because that's one of our systems of oppression, right? And also it kind of goes back to like, and I get the sister Love saying like, you can hire white folks for now, not to be racist or anything like that, but at the same time you need to be getting the next people ready too. So it's like, okay, white folk, you can go on to your next opportunities. So I can bring this other person in. So it could be a collaboration of both. It doesn't have to just be one thing. You don't have to keep thinking in the system that we're in now. That's just my thoughts. Because like how Joe was bringing up, Tulsa's gone. You can build up all the black wealth you want. Right. Political power. It's more than just money power. So I come from a self-determination background, on your own land, on your own government. Once you own the land, you own everything. Because even when we're talking about money, black folks want to do, we could go on some borrowing stuff. We could do mutual aid. We could have community gardens. All you need is some food and something to eat at the end of the day. And if you really want to get into it, when you talk about reparations, you can be like, we own this whole pipeline right here in Atlanta. Because this is where we're at. So think outside these systems, So that was just my little 2 cents. And okay, I'm done.
Aaliyah, it's never 2 cents, and I want you to stop saying that. I want you to own. Okay. I want you to own your energy and your knowledge and your thing, and take that out of your lexicon. All right, go for it. Thanks. Very good points. We're going to close down this call in the next 5 minutes. Anyone have any last comments? Nia, would you like to say something? I see a couple people that haven't commented. Jules, Paulina, Sierra. No, Sierra's commented, but anybody else like to comment already? Go ahead, anybody? Last 5 minutes.
I have a question actually. My name is Maya Campbell, and I go to GSU. I'm in Atlanta. It was more so hitting on the unity and even the thing with social media. I think one thing we're missing is a leader. So I just wanted to ask, what does a leader look like in this day and time? Like, it's not going to be a Martin Luther King. It's not going to be a Malcolm X. So,
is it a P. Diddy? Is it a T.I. or is it a Killer Mike?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
think you should use it.
I think it's women. I think that we need to stop letting men highlight everything that goes on in history. Like, look at who created the Bible. Look at who's created even the amendments. Look at who's built these infrastructures and created these rules. I think we need to become decentralized in the way that we look at gender and the way that we look at each other, and unlearn a lot of those types of structures and stop objectifying the voice of a woman. And I think, I think that's an important thing. And I feel like there's so many people like Ida B. Wells who have created a lot of change. And even I forgot the trans woman that we know of who passed away. There's so many women in history who are not talked about. We only know about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Muhammad, like so many people. But it's like, where do we start to make our place? Look at Cleopatra, what she did for Mark Antony. He wouldn't have been able to have that army if it wasn't for her.
Francisco, do you want to say anything in closing? But I just want people to realize is that, I was kind of in shock when T.I. and Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and Killer Mike got up there and shared their comments. It was a lot of respectability politics. And, the piece about CNN was built for us and all these other different things were some really interesting words that were coming out of all these three people's mouths. But it's just very interesting about for optics, who they actually went to, because I bet there are a lot of young people like, who's Killer Mike? And they know T.I., but I remember one time they said they brought, the last man brought Usher to the event, and then Usher tried to calm people down, and everyone was like, Usher, why are you even here? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it just...
None of those guys are leaders, bro.
Those are celebrities.
You gotta remember, these niggas are very wishy-washy, bro. They're not willing to... They're just using their influence. They're not it. Period. You'll see when Farrakhan comes out and all that, you're gonna see who's gonna get on that line with everybody. So, and if I see somebody out there in Chicago from here, then it'll tell me the type of energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was in Minnesota. Like, at the end of the day, like, I have my own march in City Hall. Your character's gonna show at the end of the day. All this is cool, but you're gonna see when the push come to shove. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta realize Farrakhan is like 80 years old. So
yeah, he's on his way
have
up.
all these kind of people that we're looking for, and and I hate to tell everybody, and I think what the young people realize, it's now us. We're gonna have to do this. We have to make this city and this country look at the way that we want it to look like. It's now us. And that's what you heard in the streets.
Every individual person has their own variation of what this looks like. And it's all coming off emotions. So if you
for a white person to come outside, to go in their house and grab a sign and walk outside for 6 hours and start, that says something very differently than what I've experienced watching.
Okay. And
I'm just saying, this is just what I mean, me personally.
So if there's 9,000 police officers, right? We're going to hit you with this mentality shit. And there's over like millions of people out here. You're jumping police. You're breaking their cars. You're not making an example of the white people. If they killing us, you're not taking one of them and making an example of it so they can take you serious. They don't take those people out there serious when it comes to that.
I kind of look at it like this. If I put my shoes in a white person and someone goes out and marches for 6 hours, I don't see what they're doing. I'm sitting here, I'm looking at my stock markets making money off of what they go to work, to whatever their 9 to 5 is making me money still. They can march all they want. They can spend their free time how they want. I'm sitting here still making the money, and I think that's one of the main things protests need to pivot to. I mean, we're getting a message out, but one, that message is being broadcast by once again a company, the media, and two, how do we even know that the people we want are even watching that message? I mean, it's like prisoners guarding prisoners guarding themselves at that point. We're preaching to ourselves, and it's recycling, and it's going to deaf ears, and action needs to be taken. And I just believe that action of protesting, it's a step in the right direction, but we've been stepping in that same step and not taking the next step. And I can't speak because I don't want to incite violence, but I hate to say it, I feel like that's the only way they can hear us, because all throughout history, if we want to do it in America how it is, we have to do it as the Americans did it. We've tried to do it in the right way. I'm sounding a little radical right now, but we've tried to push it into the way of peaceful protesting, but they don't. They take one look at our skin color and they disregard whatever peaceful protests we're doing.
Right.
I agree.
You're right.
Well, I have a question, because you guys were some of the people that said that you did protest. So what is your reason for protesting then? What is your why?
My reason to protest is taking that first step, because I haven't protested, and I feel like I've accumulated the knowledge that I needed to step out there and start taking the first steps towards some type of change.
So you're saying that protesting is a form of a step in moving towards change then?
Definitely. It is the first small step, but the problem is we've always taken that small step and we never go further. If you go back 50, 60 years ago, everyone uses the Martin Luther King as an example. He took that first small step, and I feel like, this is just me, I may not be educated, Malcolm X was getting ready to take that second step and they stopped him.
I don't necessarily think that violence is the answer, just because if we do feed into that, that's just going to paint back the negative stigma on all Black people, and
they're already painted
in the country. And
it's been painted, I believe.
Like,
I agree with Don.
You guys also have to remember, we have a country with the biggest military in the world. So how in the world are we going to
listen,
violence?
We're underarmed. Like, I don't think it's smart for us to just go into war.
It's not even about the military at that point. Even like, if I've talked to these people. So there's 2 police officers who left on the strength during my march. I'm like, yo, fam, you don't even want to be here. You got these white motherfuckers in your locker room saying this shit in front of you. These people only doing it to take care of their family. So if there's a resource for us to give motherfuckers money to create our own army, they'll leave. You got to remember, most people jump in the army is their last resort. That's really what it is. So these 2 guys that was in LA, me and my young boy gave them like $70K a piece. Like, yo, you don't want to be there. We can see it in your face. Come fuck with us, and we'll make sure that your family's good. This is the thing what's happening. From males and females, there's no funding for people who's in that space. There's guys who's in military who's looking who want to be in a room like us and still and really rock with us. But once again, we're not, me being from the hood, we're not making it comfortable for them. So it's like,
why do they get a pass? Why do things get to be comfortable for them, but nothing gets to be comfortable for us? Why is it that we're being told?
So you're not hearing what I'm saying. The reason why they become cops is because gangbangers is not making it comfortable for them. All this comes from being bullied, not being cool in the neighborhood. So if we let them feel like they one of us, they gonna rock with us.
But they're not one of us. If you chose to.
You can't give them a pass to feel like they can just be a part of us, live the lifestyle that we have, like, just so that they can.
I don't even think it's about only living a lifestyle.
No. So
okay, hold on. Let's get this. All right. Sierra, are you talking? Who's talking? Sierra?
Love, go ahead.
Who's going? No, I'll make Love and then Sierra. Go for it. Oh, Sierra, then Love, and then Don. Go for it.
Oh no, I said what I have to say. Like, I feel like we shouldn't have to make other people feel comfortable in order for them to get a pass. That's all I'm trying to say.
All right, then Love and then Don. Go for it. Love.
Okay, I do see where Don is coming from. I see, because I have family members that are cops. I have actually a lot of family members who are in the military and who are cops, right? What I'm saying is that when you decide to sign that oath, you are signing an oath that goes against your own community at the same time. So why am I going to make you feel comfortable so you can then join me when I don't know your true intentions? It shouldn't be, I just don't think it should be a thing of, oh, here's some money so that you don't have to be in the position you're in so you could take care of your family. Now come fight with us. I think it should be, if you're willing to fight the fight, then fight the good fight and do what's right. Be on the right side of history at the end of the day. At the end of the day, there's people that are protesting that are literally getting shot and killed. There's little babies that are seeing guns. Like, this is more than just looking out for the people who are supposed to be protecting and serving in the first place. I feel like if I was a military member and I saw that there was protests happening, I would quit the military and I would join and march right along, and I would use any resources that I got from the military to probably educate people and give them resources and things, the insider things that I've learned as well. I don't think enough is being done on all ends of the forefront.
Well, can I just add real quick to what you said, Love? And I feel like a lot of police officers with the topic of, not all cops are bad. A lot of these cops, their morals might be, I know internally that what I'm doing to these people is wrong, but at the end of the day, I have a family to feed and I'm making this yearly income, so I have to stay in this position. And that's exactly what the problem is. People are ignoring what their morals are and staying in an uncomfortable situation that they know is not right. So paying somebody to make somebody feel comfortable so that they could support their families is also denying, what your morals are and what you truly believe in and actually fighting for the cause. So I feel like at the end of the day, if you're willing to make the sacrifice of, finding another way to make a source of income to support your family, because at the end of the day, you feel like your morals over, what's the word I'm looking for? Your morals supersede, an income, that's the goal that you should be aiming towards. It shouldn't be, I have a family to feed, so I'm going to suffer under the white man because there's no other options for me.
So Don, go for it, and then we're going to go to Keenan. Go ahead. Don, you want to respond?
Seemed like it went over their head. So once again, if you're in the neighborhood, right, and you as a kid and you've been overlooked, and everybody has some friends that was overlooked and they brought them in, it's not about having no morals. It has nothing to do with that. There's good cops and there's bad cops, and there's people who feel like they want to get on the force to be a hero, to really police the community. What I'm saying is there's people that's on the force that felt like they wasn't appreciated growing up, period. So don't overlook that. That doesn't mean they don't really want to be there, but they have to be there because they chose to sign up to really provide for their family. And so if there was an opportunity, a congregation, somebody could say, yo, we can help you over here. We believe in you. We know that you don't want to be there. We can see it, period. I'm going to bring my man on. That's it. You're one of us.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
It's not about buying nobody, but if I know you don't want to be there, I gotta make you feel secure. If you're going to run with my movement, here, because now I'm buying your resources, your skill, your tactic, then you're gonna bring somebody else on. Just like the guy who was in the military. He left. He was like, yo, I can't do this. There's a couple cops that was in Chicago, like, yo, I can't do this.
And I understand what you're saying, Don, but I think to Ciara's point, to Love's point, why can't they just leave the military or leave the police force on their own will instead of having to feel like they're supported financially by one or two people who's willing to give them $70,000 just to take care of their family? How many people are really willing to pay?
No, it's America, Love.
Could I say something?
Yeah, no, I could speak to that because I was a Marine for 8 years, and my dad was a Marine, so that's all I knew. And I got out of the Marine. I went into the Marines right out of high school. So basically, I mean, I just experienced racism. I'm from North Carolina. My family's from Mississippi. But at that point in time, you're not educated enough to know to take a stand. And when you go into the military, they brainwash you pretty much, for lack of a better term. And I was in the Marines when the Mike Brown incident happened. So I was conflicted as a Black man. You know, I felt for Mike Brown, but I was in this system which consists of predominantly white people. They're like, oh, he shouldn't have did that. You don't run up on a cop. So I was conflicted. And it's not like I could just leave my job the next day. I was contractually obligated. And that was all I knew. I didn't know any better. I didn't know about racism, or like, I didn't know racism was a systemic issue until I actually got out of the Marines and I went to college, you know? So I would say it's unfair to judge somebody because of their situation, or say they should just quit the Marines or the police force because they're in the system and they are trying to feed their family and it's all that they know.
Right, but what
We need to.
$70,000?
Shit, can I say some shit?
No, go. I'm gonna let her finish her statement, then go for it.
One-time payment of $70,000 to fight the good fight. Once you realize, you know, okay, this is not the right place for me to be. I'm on the side of history here. One-time payment of $70K is not going to solve the issue across the board. You know what I'm saying? It's only going to solve the issue for one or two people who Don just mentioned. It's not an entire fleet or an entire police force or the entire military or the entire Marines or the entire, you know what I'm saying? It just solves the problem for one or two people that people like Don are able to pay to make sure their family is taken care of for a year or two.
Yeah, if we had more people like Don, we could do that with more people.
Right.
But it's the start, though, is what I'm saying.
Start,
and that's
yeah.
not, and there's more. And after that happened, not to cut y'all off, I have other people that's involved that wants to get into it. And they was like, yo, you ain't even got to pay us that. But you have to set the notion for that. Period. And so at the end of the day, I have my man, Paul Joe. I have other people that's attached to me. And y'all have, and that means y'all got to get y'all resources together. Y'all got to like y'all got to build legs for yourself at the end of the day. So y'all just out here waking up every day having fun. Now this shit's a real situation. Now you're behind the ball. So me starting with 2 people then got me 20 people. And there, I got a guy, my man Tariq Chambers. He was in the Marines. He was a Boston police officer. He left. No, did I have to pay him? No. But at the same time, he's like, yo, I can't do this. It's the fact that we putting something in place that there's a home that they could go to. And they could bring their tactics, their education, and we could teach kids like you guys or anybody else. And that comes with another business. And that comes with the FBAC that we're creating. And so now we putting our money into it where these guys could get paid. Is there a white person involved? No.
Well, I hope we just do the same for the young men and women who join gangs and in order to take care of their family, and the people who are selling drugs in the streets. I hope we can, because they're in the system as well. We're actually all in the system that we have to unlearn.
And
it's not only
that's why I own a company. All my young boys just came home from being a life sentence, all 8 of them.
And also those young people out there that are out there in the streets that are organizing, that are not being paid, doing it as volunteers and all these other things. We also need to find out a system to support them and their families as well, because there's a lot of people out there that are doing these things for free, and not getting supported of organizing our people of color and also getting resources. Flyers cost money. All these things cost money. Signs cost money. And so we need to be also, I know, giving $70,000 is an ample thing to a police officer or a former police officer or Army person, but also maybe $10,000 or $15,000 to a community organizer may go 5 times as farther. Stuff.
I mean, it gives me an insight of what I need, you know what I mean, for what's really happening. I'm for the streets for sure. Like, I'm for all the guys that's coming home from jail. I'm for domestic, abuse and all that stuff. Like, so at the end of the day, money talks when it comes to that. And I only want to deal with people who's not gonna like bend over, because I know where this is gonna go. And if you have some real solid, this is the only way America's gonna be able to move forward. We don't want no in between gray area type guys or females. Period. It's just Go ahead.
Hey, Chip.
Yeah,
I
I
wanted
wanted
to.
to put Kasim to speak because he's been waiting for a while.
appreciate that. I was trying to say, man, I don't know if a lot of y'all know me, but my grandfather owned the Nubian Ocean. My grandfather's name was Malik Abdahalit, and he basically was the person who brought pro-Black awareness to America. He went to Egypt, came back in a pilgrimage, and I have a couple uncles, my father, who served in the military and the Marines, but I learned from my grandfather at a young age that the military is no place for a Black man. They'll send us over to fight their wars, but then we come back and they don't give us peace. They don't even help their veterans like that, and you're not even a free man. You know, when you wear that uniform, they protect you, but when you're in the street in regular clothes, it don't matter if you a Marine, it don't matter if you a cop. So when I was out there protesting in Atlanta, the night the boy and the girl from Spelman and Morehouse got pulled out their car, I was talking to some of the Marines and I was telling them how could they, take arms against us, because I was out there and it was peaceful at first, but how the police and the Marines, how they position themselves in at protests, that's what they're doing. We're peacefully protesting and they're positioning themselves like they're ready to go to war. So they're the ones who are being the agitators, as always, and it's other people who are coming in and agitating the situations, which I caught on camera, an Antifa member, whatever the hell they're called, lighting firecrackers and all this other shit. So I just think that we need to start young. We try to talk to the older people. I came back home to Boston trying to organize with so-called social activists in Boston, and it's like I'm talking to a brick wall. You know what I'm saying? It makes no sense that in 50 out of 50 states, Boston is the only state that can't seem to get their shit together. Like, people are dying from our own people right now, and everybody else is coming together, Bloods and Crips and all these other gangs around the country, and it's like Boston can't seem to get on the same page. We still out here with the bullshit. And that really pisses me off, especially growing up. And I am Roxbury. Nubian Square is my legacy, basically. You know what I'm saying? So it really pisses me off that we can't come together at this time. So what I think, my personal opinion, is what we need to do is we need to start teaching the youth that they don't need to be Marines, that they don't need to be cops, that they need to, if they are trying to be cops, we need to teach them how to protect us and not protect the badge, and to understand what that they came from. The police came from slave catchers. That is it. There is no lie about that. You can go look it up. That they were actually slave catchers and they turned into police. And what we need to do is just teach them young, because the younger generation in 5 to 10 years is going to be the ones that continue to push the needle. You see, I'm pretty sure none of y'all ever thought that we would have the whole world raising a black fist, because I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime where people are saying, white people and Asian people and all these other people are saying Black Lives Matter. So from my perspective and just watching everything that's going on, the older you get, the more stubborn you get, and it's really hard to change, and bring certain people together. So what I think what we need to do is we need to, one, create social media. We need to hype up our HBCUs. When I worked with Chip for the National Black College Alliance, it was imperative that we preach, going to a school that is for you. I went to Natick High School, you know what I mean? And that showed me, that Roxbury was different. I got a different view. And then when I went to the white world, they showed me what life really was. So I went back to an HBCU because I needed to be around my people in college. So I just think that we need to start taking more ownership, and we need to invest in each other. I'm a singer and a songwriter, and I don't give a fuck about none of my music. I don't give a fuck about signing no deal. I stayed independent for 10-some years. The city won't even support their own, which is cool. I'm not even mad at it. But you know what I'm saying? But we got to stop uplifting people who don't give a fuck, who are going to be mute, like he said, like Dawn said, who are not going to put back into the hood. Like, why are you supporting someone from Virginia when someone from Boston is trying to put Boston on their back and show the world, like, yo, tell our story. Like, let's shoot movies about Black Boston. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I want to say for the time being.
All right, jump. Anyone else next? I want to show you a quick clip. We'll go
Hi, Chip. I would like to say I am really enjoying this forum. This is Karen Parker. I'm from Boston. Thank you, Chip, for doing this. Kasim, I so appreciate your family, and I miss that corner. I hadn't seen it for about 10 years. I was outside of Boston, and I was shocked when I was looking. I came into town specifically to go to your store, your family store, and it wasn't there. And it just broke my heart because Nubian Notion is the fabric of who Black Boston is. That's where we got our products, our art, and we met up with each other, the books. I mean, it's a huge, huge, huge void left in Black Boston. And like, I have tears in my eyes right now because I remember the hard time that they put your grandfather through. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just glad to know that you came back, and I just want to say publicly that your family is what, and other families like you guys, that is really really, really missing right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I want to show you guys a 4-minute clip real quick, and then we can figure out our next step. But it's by Sister Soldier 25 years ago. And it was really around the time when I started the Black College Alliance. But it was just a really amazing piece. Hold on, let me see if I know.
All of you, I got to go. I have a meeting. But y'all stay strong, all right?
All right, Don, good seeing you, bro. We got a link.
All right, y'all be good.
All right, then.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Education that I had, college, public, and otherwise. Nobody ever told me that I was an African woman. Nobody ever told me what the history of African people were. Nobody ever told me that America is business, and without business you will have nothing and be nothing. And nobody ever told me how to organize business so that I would be able to develop institutions in my own community. So now the sincerity of all of the programs and all of the education has to be questioned, indicted, and convicted, because the bottom line is that America is not and has never tried to produce African adults who are functional, self-sufficient, who understand their politics, their economics, and their relationship to the world politics and the world economics.
American Unified with the NAACP, the Urban League, and the traditional We Shall Overcome civil rights leaders of the 50s and 60s that have been all but abandoned and ignored by younger people, Sister Soldier included.
I think that the dice are loaded, and that's what's left out of Mr. Brown's piece. See, there was a period of time in this country after Reconstruction where African people owned a lot of land, owned a lot of businesses, and did a lot of things. But what happened was the American government, the Ku Klux Klan, and other organizations organized in smashing that effort. So it's not that we haven't tried to own lands and have not organized businesses. It's that if you are African in America, or in Latin America, or in the Caribbean, or in the continent, you will be hunted no matter what you do, because they do not want us to survive and become self-sufficient. And you can say no, but you haven't lived this life. You haven't lived this life.
To be happy with what I'm talking about that. All right. Oh, now, to paraphrase Senator Bradley of New Jersey, the state from which your piece was. Senator Bradley gets much right when he talks. He does, and he, among other things, and he's not claiming to be particularly original with the observation. We can't get there unless we go together. I have a terrible feeling that behind me are some people who do not agree.
Senator Bradley of the all-white United States Senate said we can't get there unless we all go there together. Sorry, none of us are where he is. That's number one. Number two, you're making a moral appeal to a country that doesn't have a moral conscience. The question becomes that when white people feel serious and angry and upset about abortion, they come out in the thousands up to the millions to say, this is what we believe about abortion. Where is the white outcry against white racism that murders African people?
25 years ago.
It doesn't to establish a foundation. We have chaos in our cities, and you got to say that. You can have a program. I'm not saying we've built a lot of institutions, and those institutions have not been effective. The majority of millions of African youth in this country are dying mentally, dying spiritually, dying emotionally, dying academically. And you may have a program, Mr. Brown may have a program, but what we got to talk about is an American government that tracks millions of African people who don't go to your program, don't go to Brown's program. Millions of African people, not only here, but all around the world. And if we are not enough to say who are our friends, who are our enemies, to know what a friend is, to know what an enemy is, we will constantly be trying to get into people's parties, to shake our butts with them, to get them to like us. And that's not the question. The question is, what can we build amongst ourselves to secure ourselves from our enemies so that we will be able to survive into the future? That's enough to know that if I walk out Washington, D.C. tonight, some black kid in Washington, D.C. is blowing up another black kid's head because the institutions that we're talking about, not the things that we hold up and say, look, this is one example. The institutions that we're talking about are not saving the minds of those African children. That is the honest truth. None of these Negroes saved me. None of these Negroes saved me. None of them. Listen, you know who saved me? A man named John DeSane in Inglewood, New Jersey, who told me who I was, who showed me my history, who told me who my enemies were, who let me know that this was not an easy world, who let me know that this was a cold environment, who let me know that what he's not a part of is dilly-dallying with the minds of African children and letting them know what the real situation is in America.
Okay, y'all.
Chip, can I go first? Do you mind?
Yeah, go for it.
So this is why I was explaining about the social media, or whatever that.
For you today.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, this is what I mean about the social media, right? Because right now we have Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, which Mark Zuckerberg has donated to Trump's campaign, and is why, you know, we are being limited on what we can say and what we can't say, all that, those type of things. So I believe that I've been doing a lot of research, even to find out recently that the Boston busing desegregation ended in 1988, which is crazy to me because I was born in 87. So I was 1 year old when, you know, Boston Public Schools was finally desegregated, which is, you know, it's astonishing to me. Also, I know you just being in Atlanta and being around Black business, a lot of Black businesses don't do things like my family did. And a lot of Black, you know, club owners, promoters, restaurant owners, just Black people that do have these businesses, you know, they don't operate with helping and wanting to help the community. They only care about lining their pockets. As you can see with some of these artists and entertainers and athletes, every athlete and entertainer should be boycotting the system right now. That is imperative, you know, but right now we can't seem to come together. So we need a bunch of young leaders and a bunch of activists to come together all across the country. It's really a thing where we have to tap into who we know in our network. We have to ask questions. We have to ask our elders questions about what they went through. I want to talk to, I don't know who, I can't remember. I'm sorry for not remembering your name. But I want to talk to the lady who was saying something about my grandfather, because my grandfather passed away when I was in 5th grade. So I only got that knowledge until 5th grade. But luckily, I was raised in the Nubian Ocean. I worked there, you know, my whole life, basically, until, you know, gentrification, which is a new form of redlining, what they're doing to Roxbury. They're actually trying to do it in Atlanta. Chip knows that, which is crazy because you see Stacey Abrams was supposed to be the governor, and Kemp came in there and took that away from her. Also, Keisha Lance Bottoms, you see how Atlanta's leading the forefront with firing these cops and charging these cops. That's because Atlanta is a Black Mecca. Atlanta is the Harlem Renaissance. So that's what we need to start doing. We need to start creating community.
And also, Keisha went to college with half of these people's brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles.
Right.
And they were at Freaknik together and all the in the homecomings, and they called Keisha on the phone and said, Keisha, you better take care of that.
Right. And that's what we need.
That's the network.
Community. That's network. That's community. I should be able to call my homie Lou Williams right now. I hosted his pool party, and he's one of the ones, him and Kyrie Irving, that's like, man, what are we going back to play basketball for? Like, I'm not trying to take no check, but we need to start our own stuff for us. We need to fill these HBCUs with sports games so that all these kids who think that they got pipe dreams of playing football. I'm an ex-athlete. I'm a musician. That is not important. What's important is speaking up when stuff is wrong. All those entertainers like Jim Brown, you had Sam Cooke, all these people, they were activists first, entertainers second. So that's what we need to start educating our kids, educating our youth. We need to start teaching them the importance of marriage, Black love, and healthy love, and not toxic love. And we need to teach them how to be self-sufficient. I'm actually trying to, I'm talking to them blue in the face with my family, trying to come up with a Black history kind of curriculum to teach Black kids and Black families about their Blackness and who they are, because we did not start as slaves. That is not our history. We were kings and queens. There's a meme that has been going around on Instagram that I want to find it, and I'm gonna share it with Chip, and I'm gonna have him share it with you guys. But it's about a British conquistador, and he was talking to the British Parliament about how he had went to Africa and discovered this place, and he had never seen a place so beautiful with not one beggar. That means that none of us are beggars. We are all creators of this culture. We create the culture that America portrays to the world. And luckily for the internet, we have shown that America has been taking our culture, getting rich off of it, and then they kill us and act like we're not worth anything. And that's why we have to know the importance of our Black dollar. Our Black dollar should be circulating in the community mad times before it even goes out to the Chinese people.
Hold on. We hit this earlier.
Okay, my bad. My fault. Go ahead. I came late. My bad.
No problem. I want to just make sure, did anyone, that was 30 years ago, Sister Soldier said those comments. And it's really interesting. She said, where is the white outrage? 30 years ago. And Cornel West is like, oh, there's one or two, but she's like, no, where is it? And it's really interesting now to have that. And Aaliyah, I think we should think about trying to get Sister Soldier to come to Georgia State in the fall.
Yeah.
And I bet she wouldn't be as expensive as some other people will try to get, but but that's something like I really want to say that Sister Soldier, as you notice, is very educated, you know what I mean? Very articulate, and she took on Bill Clinton back in the 90s, which was very just unheard of, but she just, a rapper, this is before all these other people did it. It was Sister Soldier that was the first kind of rapper that went after a presidential candidate and stood her own, and they had and so forth. So, now you see Cardi B and lots of other people that actually jump into politics, but really Sister Soldier was really the first one to actually go out there and push the envelope and go right after that. So anybody think about what she said 30 years ago? Just anything that came out, just a lot of that ring today?
Yep.
Well, yeah, she made a great point of a lot of the legislation. I mean, we do have African Americans in there, but it's a voting system.
Zero at that time. Now
exactly, but we have several. But it's the same story. We live in a system where the majority beats the minority, and we're still the minority in there. So the voice is being put in there, but it's not being applied. And it's like it's a push. Like it kind of goes back. We're taking the first steps, but we're not taking the next step that's required. And it's. I feel like it's one of those things where it falls back to how I'm like to have this mentality. We need to get it done. We need to get it now. When in reality, the way in the protests we do now, it will eventually happen, but it'll take a long time for that to happen. None of us will be alive to see it happen. Our children might be able to see it, maybe our children's children. But do we really want to have that many generations going through the same thing we're going through? because I mean, I just spoke to a couple African Americans, older African Americans this morning. He apologized to me. He said, "I'm sorry because our generation, we had the steps, we were taking the right way, the right direction to do it, but we didn't finish through." And I really, really want us to be the ones to finish through.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's a very, very scary thing, to say the least.
I'm gonna just be
I think
clear,
we're
like,
gonna finish.
but I just want to be clear. Like, I was like 20 or 19 years old when Sister Soldier said that statement. And
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying
no,
you.
no. I'm not just saying that. No. I'm not taking anything like that. But I'm just saying, like, that's when that day was when I started the Boston Black College Alliance, and then me and a group of 19-year-olds, 20 or 30 of us went and started going to high schools at 19 years old. Ralph, who was on the call, was one of those students who was a high school student when we were in college, and we grabbed on to Ralph and got him to think about going to school at a HBCU. And Sean George was on here and a lot of other people. So at that time, being 19 and 20, I realized that I had to pick up the mantle and do that. And, and that's just, I hope that everyone here realizes it's not each one teach one. It's each one teach a whole bunch of people. All right. And really get that whole kind of mentality going forward. Go ahead, Ms. White.
I think also to that point though, and Joel, just to give you a little bit more encouragement, I mean, George was in his 20s when Sister Soldier made that, shared that message, and there was nobody in Congress that was Black. I mean, we have made steps forward, even though we haven't crossed the finish line, and that should not be kind of, not acknowledged. I mean, we're taking steps forward. The journey is very long. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It may not happen in the next 10 years, but we are taking steps forward. We are creating change every single day, especially within this movement. And you can see it with how many.
Sorry, go ahead. Keep on talking. I'm sorry. Sorry, I messed up. Go ahead. I'm trying to put it in the link. I'm trying to put it in the chat. Go for it.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But also too, like to that point, so I'm a student at Harvard, right? And a lot of people, at least I wouldn't even say a lot of people, I'll just bring it back to myself. Why didn't I go to an HBCU? There's the reason why, I mean, is a personal reason. I had to go to school online. The HBCUs only offer school on campus, but I challenge my professors every single day on including history of our people within the curriculum. And I challenge the students that I'm in class with every single day to push their perspectives and lines of thinking with the topics that we're discussing. And I think even just doing those small things every single day shouldn't be something that isn't looked at as a step forward in the right direction or a step towards the finish line. And, if it doesn't happen today, it may happen 10 years, but I wouldn't say that it's not going to happen within our lifetime, because so much has happened in 20 years.
I just want to say a word of encouragement to the guy who was speaking. Don't look at it like that. Don't be afraid, okay? Because at the end of the day, if they're gonna kill it, they out here killing us anyway, right? So if we gonna die anyway, we gotta die for something. So I would rather die a free man than die a slave. You feel me? So I'm not afraid to die. I as a young kid, I was always vocal about how I felt about Black people and being pro-Black. And I seen that it was frowned upon by Black people and by white people. So I already figured just from doing my history that I was probably going to be a martyr. I hope I'm not. I hope I get to live to see change. I hope I get to live to be 100 and see that all kids are equal and can go to school and stuff like that. But we are making change. Even when we tweet and we show and share all this information, even when we have them tough conversations with our parents, we have tough conversations with the racist people and the white people we went to school with, this is moving the needle. Even if we move it a little bit, we have to go back like me and Chip used to do when Chip was my mentor. Chip still is my mentor, but when I was working with the National Black College Alliance and talk to these younger kids about the importance of what they're doing. This is why I say we need to have these athletes and entertainers, which I'm trying to create different avenues for all of these things that we need. it's really overwhelming, but I'm in it for the long haul. So we just need to keep our foot on their necks. Like, we do not need to let up. And I preach that every day.
Kasim, how old are you now?
I'm 33. And
when did I meet you? I think 15, right?
Yeah, 15. And I helped get the Chip helped me get the I helped Chip, and we helped Massachusetts get Deval Patrick elected as the first Black governor in Massachusetts. I actually helped Obama get elected. I raised money for Obama and the Democratic Party to get him and to see him. And I thought I would never see a Black president. I grew up on Tupac. I remember hearing Tupac on a cassette, Nubian Ocean. I used to get CDs 6 months ahead of time before anybody would get any kind of music from hip hop. So I am very aware of the, history of even from the 90s till now, where we are as a people. And I can just only tell y'all that what we're doing, even people don't get discouraged by just thinking that you sitting at home right now because of COVID and we sharing stuff, that it's not being brought to awareness. Because the best thing about social media is that we can reach people in other cities and other countries. I have a homegirl in Sweden. I have a homegirl in Switzerland. And before they were marching, I was talking to them about why, what's really going on out here. And they were seeing my stuff. So that means that they were sharing it. And eventually, whoever else was sharing it that had friends over there, they ended up marching and having to march. So when we put the pressure on America and we put the pressure on these people, of course they're going to retaliate. Of course they don't want us to come up. You see that they don't want us to come up. But you know what? If we keep applying the pressure, this is why I really want to try to organize a march. I really don't care for a lot of these activists, to be honest, and these entertainers, because I know they're not for the community. How many times do they come into the community and make sure that the community's good? Where does all this money go? No one knows. So that's why we need to continue to apply pressure. Look at Netflix. Netflix just donated $100 million to Morehouse and Spelman. You know what I'm saying? You go to Harvard, and I would tell you that Spelman would be a great school if you ever do want to transfer. You know what I'm saying? When you can get a chance to transfer. But like you said,
you do a semester down there. We need you at Harvard as well.
Yeah, we definitely need some. I'm with it. Look, she could go to grad school at.
I went to Harvard. I went to grad school at Harvard, so we need you as well. We need Black people all over the place.
All over the place, everywhere. So that's what I'm saying. So you,
Francesca, are you still there? Francesca,
I'm here.
Can you? You didn't say too much. I know that you're one of my muses out here in the music and dance and poetry and life scene. You give me life every time I see you. I want you to give these young people what you've heard so far and what you think, and then we can close out really with you.
Oh, I don't have really a lot much to say. So I'm very proud of the young people I'm listening to. They're really on point. When I grew up, my family grew up as African nationalists. So
that's right.
Back then, I was like one of the rare breeds back in the late '60s. I was like the only one in the school and everything, unless you lived in Harlem or was part of the American Muslim nation. Farrakhan movement. So I hear these young kids. I'm just so happy to hear, and my heart is joyful to see them move, because I lived most of my time overseas, and I lived in Africa and abroad. So, and especially Brazil, that's my place where I stayed most of my life. So I'm just glad to see the movement is just moving throughout the world, and I'm just happy to see young people a part of this. I didn't think millennials could do it. I really didn't.
And one of the things, I was downtown and I was just sitting on the side of Atlanta, and two young men came up to me and said, "Hey, you didn't think us millennials can do it, huh?" And I was just sitting there on the side. And I think for us as being, the good uncles and aunties sitting on the side, watching and being proud, I think that's something that we also have to enjoy our role. And Aaliyah, I want to make sure that you and Francesca exchange information. Can you guys do that real quick? Aaliyah, tell us some of the work you do real quick.
Power Book Club president at Georgia State University, Malcolm X grassroots movement student and community organizer, African Diaspora Student Advocacy Coalition chair. That's really recent. So that's what I do. This is an entrepreneurship conversation. Dang, I copy and paste my little business link. I lost it though. But that's what I'll do. And we'll connect. I'm going to see if I can message you privately on here. But now I'll just drop my information for everybody.
I just want to make sure you two connect because you guys are very kindred spirits.
Yeah, I connected with her immediately. The minute she, yeah.
Okay.
Did you guys get each other's information? I want to make sure before that close off this call.
Yeah, looking at it now.
Okay, I'm gonna take a picture of yours.
I dropped my Instagram for anybody that wants to follow me. I would love to connect with all of you guys and just see how we can all work together to kind of continue pushing the needle.
Period.
Okay, this video will be up tomorrow for everyone to have and look at. Geez, hold on. People keep on adding stuff. There you go. All right. Thank you for participating. You'll see the video up tomorrow. We started, Aaliyah and I started a Greatest Minds book club, and the Black Power book club is going to join in. We had 3 books. One, which I found online, and I do not think from the person I know, Derek Bell would be glad that someone's reading this book, even though he passed away. So we have an online version of that. Also, I found Bell Hooks' book online as a PDF. Look at Aaliyah laugh, like, yo, wow, you know how the biggest thing is like, okay, everyone buy the book, everyone goes like this. Right, Aaliyah?
No, it's all good.
Everyone goes like this. But I do have the PDF of that, and I can send it to everybody on here. So, but the one book, which is my favorite book in the whole world, is called In the Search of the Black Fantastic. I'm telling you all, I could not put that down, okay? I could not put that down. And I'll send you the link of that. But I do have 2 books that are PDFs, and the other one you have to buy. I'm telling you, that book is amazing, In the Search of the Black Fantastic, about civil rights and music and how that all relates together. I'm not sure if you ever heard of that, Aaliyah. Have you?
No, I like all the books you picked out, so I'm looking forward to it.
Good, good. So, so we're going to read the first 1 through 30 book this week. I do, and I'll add you guys to the list so you guys can get both the books. But we're going to be reading June, July, and August. Okay?
And we doing like a Black agenda, right? Like I know you mentioned the 4 buttons, was bring it up. So make sure y'all stay tuned for like the little strategy meetings and stuff like that. We're gonna roll it out. Then also, I dropped my email in there. Let me know if anyone's at GSU want to make stuff shake. I got a little few connections.
You got a lot of connections. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Sure.
All right, look forward to all our next meetings. You'll get an email today.
All right, bye.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chip.
That's welcome.
Thank you so much. You did that.
Hey, we
Yes,
did.
sir.
We brought some great minds together.
Thank you, we did.
Chip, Chip, call me on the